Welcome, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order for the Corporation of the Township of Pleasant, November 27th, 2024. I will start with roll call. Councillor Goyda.
Present.
Councillor Spoulos. Here. Councillor Bailey.
Present.
Councillor Hurst. Present. Thanks. We'll begin our moment of reflection. This is our moment of reflection. Ms. Whitebox, you have a recommendation for the confirmation of the agenda.
The council approves the November 27th, 2024 agenda and addendum as circulated, and the council approves the addition to the agenda as follows. Consent item 6.1.1, questions received from council seeking additional information and the corresponding responses provided by staff.
You'll move that, please. Councillor Spoulos, Councillor Goyda.
Sure.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? It's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest today?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Goyda.
Item 9.2.1, which is the grant applications, and that's specifically for Schedule E, so the Sunrise application. As a board member for Sunrise Therapeutic Riding Center, I have a pecuniary interest in any decisions related to the financial benefit of the organization.
Okay, let's separate that one out. Suppose.
That's item 9.2.1 report 2024-030 grant application program. The organizations Friends of Mill Creek and Optimus Club are seeking to receive grant funding. As a member of each of these organizations, I have an indirect pecuniary interest.
All right, any further? Councillor Hurst.
Item number 9.2.1, similar to Councillor Goyda, in respect to the Sunrise Therapeutic Riding and Learning Center. I'm a board member and therefore have a conflict of interest. I'd like to flag it.
All right, and you have it in writing provided from the clerk. Excellent. All right. We will separate them all out and deal with them.
Yep. None for me.
None for you, eh? All right. Okay, next we're on to, is it Mary Ann? No consulting.
Okay, I'm here.
Mary Ann, nice to see you again.
Good morning. Good morning, Your Worship. I have a presentation relating to council compensation. Would you like me to put it up on screen?
Sure.
Will I do that? Okay. Okay, can everybody see this?
Yep, well, it's a little small. If you can start the
I'll
slide.
just I'll take you to a slideshow. We've got 10 slides, so it's not terribly long. I'll put it up on slideshow format.
See that.
There we go. What's that? Okay. All right, so again, as with the previous, through the mayor, I'm more than happy to take questions as we go through, or I'll take them at the end. I'll just, follow your direction. Okay, so just by way of background, compensation for elected officials at the township was last reviewed in 2014 with changes to base pay rates to reflect the 50th percentile of the defined pay market. The primary objective of this council remuneration study was to conduct a review of base pay for the mayor and councillor positions using an updated comparator group. I reviewed the comparator information that was collected by staff, also took a look at public disclosures of salary remuneration and pay data that I had on file. And I prepared a base pay market summary using various percentile targets. And of course, the recommendations in this report have been prepared for council's consideration. So this slide sets out current state in terms of remuneration and pay practice. Annual base pay rates for the mayor, $30,802. For councillor, $20,754. There are no additional meeting per diems provided. We do not have meeting per diems for attendance at conferences and workshops. Meal expense is reimbursed with supporting receipts. Kilometerage expense is reimbursed at current township rates. I understand that there is a laptop or a tablet that's provided. We don't have cell phone or line coverage. Extended health care is provided, and you can see it here. We have semi-private dental, drug, vision care, out of province coverage at sorry?
Or I just cleared my throat. I apologize. I'm a little under the
That's
weather
okay.
today.
That's fine, that's fine. With premium paid by the township, and of course, the mayor is covered by the county's benefit program. We don't have owners' participation, nor are there RSP contributions. I understand that base pay for the elected officials is adjusted annually, January 1st, with the same economic adjustment that's provided to employees. So this sort of references, as I said, current state. There is a policy or benefits, there is a policy that's in place that sets out, much of this information, and I had regard to that as well. So by way of overall summary, we've got our reference here to the base pay that's currently in place. The remuneration for both elected official positions, mayor and councillor, is low to the defined pay market when we're looking at the 55th percentile. The other elements of remuneration, to the extent that information is provided, are generally comparable. The market group was selected having regard to local regional comparators, and the comparator group that was used in our 2024 employee compensation study. We have 12 comparators identified, and they're sitting here on slide here: Erin, Centre Wellington, Guelph-Amasa, Wellington North, Wilmot, Woolwich, Mapleton, Minto, Clearview, Lakeshore, Thames Centre, Tillsonburg were relatively placed in relation to size indicators. In terms of market observations, this review focused primarily on the base pay. So I reviewed that and compared to the defined pay market using their base pay rates. For the majority of our comparators, base pay is compensating for council meetings, committee meetings, and special meetings of council. The majority of our comparators are providing extended benefits coverage. The majority provide a laptop. There's one comparator that reports participation in the OMERS pension plan. In terms of the market summary itself, you can see on this slide where we have in the white section over to the left, we have our current base pay rates, and in the green section, you can see the results of the market summary. The number of observations are the number of matches. The market median is the 50th percentile target. And then you can see the targets as you move over to the right. And when we look at the 55th percentile, this is the dollar value where it is. We have the 12 comparators ranked highest paid match to the lowest paid match. The 55th percentile is the dollar rate where 55% of those matches are below and 45% are above. So it's just a little bit above the market median. And as you can see, moving across the rows, the target values, the numeric values are increasing as we move to higher targets. And this is a similar concept that as we discussed when we were working through the staff compensation review as well, when we were discussing percentiles. The percentage difference column is just the difference between the current base pay rate and the market target rate. And it would mean, for example, with councillor, we would need to increase the current base pay rate of $20,754 by 3.4% to get to the 55th percentile target. That's it, but just by way of example. The compensation philosophy for employee positions establishes job rates at the 55th percentile target for 2024. This is what came about as the result of our salary review this year. And as I said, here's the reference to what the 55th percentile target means with regards to ranking and comparison. The base pay rates for mayors and for the mayor and council are below this target, as you can see from the previous slide. The market comparison for Portland elected official positions based on the 55th percentile is for the mayor, $40,928. Amongst the comparators, the base pay ranges from $27,478 up to $51,874. So that $40,928 value is the 55th percentile target amongst that range. The market rate for the counselor position is $21,468, and the base pay rates range amongst the comparators from $18,153 to $27,997. By way of conclusion, our comparator group, it would appear to be representative based on the select criteria. I think that the 55th percentile pay target is reasonable based on our size and scope, and it aligns with the pay target for employee group. This is a common practice in municipalities whereby if there's a target set for the employee group, it tends to be, if there's a council review on remuneration, that there's an alignment with that pay target. The base pay rates for the mayor and councilor would require an increase to meet the 55th percentile pay target. It is best practice to increase annual base pay for elected official positions annually by the amount used to adjust the employee's salary grid. This is what you are currently doing. This allows for a year-over-year increase to align with cost of living increases, supported by survey results and practice in the sector. It's also best practice to review compensation once during the term of council using a survey of comparative municipalities. And it's quite frequent whereby a municipal council will be reviewing their remuneration in and around the same time as the employee compensation review has been conducted. And that has been the practice through this review cycle in 2024. In terms of recommendations, I'm recommending that council give consideration to implementing the following base pay adjustments. These base pay adjustments would need to be adjusted further by COLA for 2025 because these are 2024 values. So, and you can see them here on screen. I won't restate them. It's also recommended that council continue a practice of adjusting base pay rates annually by that same percentage adjustment applied to the employee salary grid. And it's also recommended that the compensation review be conducted once every 3 to 4 years using comparator survey data. The next review would be during that next term of council. In terms of effective date, it's certainly, up to council in terms of whether or not the council would be implementing next year. Some councils will implement that next year. Some will push it over to the following year of council. It really is depending on the wish of council based on the results of the review. And that concludes the presentation, Your Worship, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Marianne. Ms. Whitebox, you have a recommendation?
The correspondence item 10.1 entitled Presentation by Marianne Love, ML Consulting, regarding the 2024 Portland Council Compensation Review be received, and the council approves the compensation adjustment for mayor and members of council as outlined in the presentation.
Okay, move for that, please. Councilor Hurst, Councilor Spose, questions or comments?
I do just have a couple questions. Thanks for the presentation. I'm just curious, so this is the first time, at least during my time on council, that we've done a compensation review for members of council. Is this something that is common practice in other municipalities and has been for some time, or is this sort of like a more recent best practice?
Through the mayor, yes, it is a common practice. It's a common practice in municipal government for a council to review its compensation by using a survey. And usually using a third party such as myself to bring in the results of that survey. It's also common practice to have that aligned with the same cycle as the employee compensation review. I think there's some efficiencies in terms of process and resourcing for that purpose as well. So I'd say it's common. It's also a best practice. And one of the reasons why it is a best practice is because if it's not looked at for, say, a 10-year cycle, there can be a big swing on compensation. So it's best to sort of take a periodic
Right.
review of it as we have here.
Okay, thanks.
Marianne, can I just ask you to stop sharing your screen so we can
Sure,
see?
absolutely. Yep, okay. I'm here.
Ah, there we go. Thank you. Mr. Luciani?
Yeah, I don't have any questions for the deputy. My comments are as follows. As Councilor Goy alluded, this is something was done 10 years ago, and had we done more progressive evaluations, we wouldn't be looking at some of the numbers here that somebody may have an issue with. I also looked at Minto back in 2023. This is a year ago. Their total bill, including OMERS, they allow the councils to have OMERS. They allow each council to have a 2,000 health plan as well. Was 194,000. This is a year ago. Our total council bill, all in, is 176 for 2025. So you can see we're behind Minto, which is more or less comparable municipality, comparable to us, and we're still lower than they are. They're obviously going to increase by 2 more years, and they're going to be over 200, I'm sure, by now. So I don't have a problem. We're still in the ballpark. The last comment I want to make, when you look at the overall, where we were last year we were looking at having our staff catch up with a 4% every year because of the high inflation numbers that had occurred in the previous several years. Well, you look at, had we not done this evaluation, and you look at the 4% that we would have incurred, that is, plus the 4% for council, we would have been incurring somewhere in the order of $156,000. The fact that we're doing this evaluation, we're doing 3% plus everything, that's roughly $150,000. Plus, we would have been stuck with another 1.9 increase in subsequent years. That's another $70,000 hit. So I look at this, it's timely, it saves us money for the long run, and it compensates everybody fairly. And I would hope that here on in, whenever we do a compensation review, it's all inclusive for all staff and elected officials.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilor Sepoulis. Just adding on to that, I mean, the recommendation in the report is to do a compensation review every 34 years. So I think it makes sense to be adding it into when we do the staff review. And I think we talked about doing that partway through term of council. So I would just suggest that we continue with that practice.
Councilor Hurst.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I appreciate, this piggybacking on the previous one that you provided the township around the employee compensation. I think there's great merit in transparency with other similar sized geographical municipalities. And I think, similar to Councilor Sepoulis's analysis, I went through each of the other lower tier townships within the municipality, and I think I had a degree of comfort with the recommendation after going through that. Maybe one question for you, Marianne. So we're targeting the 55th percentile for our current cycle. Generally speaking, based on your other consulting work, what's the erosion of that 55% on an annual basis? So in a year from now, would we be at the 50th percentile, and 2 years from now, say 45 percentile? Or can you maybe just share how that, if we target 55 today, how that erodes on an annual basis generally?
Through you, Mayor, it's hard to say, because if it is that our comparator group is adjusting their salary grids annually and we are adjusting ours, one would think we track relatively close. If it is that one of or a couple of the comparators between these cycles conducts their own review and adjusts their pay grid, there could be a larger skew. And so it's hard to predict, because we don't know amongst that group of 12 who might be, undertaking a review. I can say that There have been a lot of reviews in the province last year, this year particularly, and many will try to get that sort of sorted out before we run into election, right? So I think the activity will be, as I said, 24 and 25. So hard to say what 25 will bring next year.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and then just my quick research, like Center Wellington made a decision in September of 23, Wellington North, April of 23, Erin, February of 24, Mapleton 23. So I think we're kind of coming in after some similar municipalities. So I think that's helpful. I'll maybe stop. Maybe my last recommendation would be is at our previous council meeting, there was a discussion around undertaking this process in year 2 of each cycle of council. And maybe my recommendation for future would be that, you know, similar to the employee process, this gets wrapped up into that. I don't know if there's any savings and consulting fees to go through that, if it's all done at the same time, maybe not. But to me, I think doing this in year 2 of a 4-year council cycle is probably well timed to sync every 4 years. And yeah, I think the optics of it, you know, coming into an election window, you probably want to stay away from that. Good. That's it for me. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Marianne. I think it's important to tie it to the review that you do for staff for efficiencies. I feel it would be more expensive if we had to have you do the work the next year after a staff. The 2-year in a council term, does that mean implemented for budget 3 or implemented budget 2? Because those are 2 different things.
So through Mr. Chair, right now, we would be in the 2nd year of the term, but the implications of the review are being implemented in year 3.
And is that, first, I'm thinking more staff, is that where we're gonna land with staff? So are we gonna, you're gonna implement it in year 3 of every term essentially? Okay, that's fine. I felt there was possibility of that being interpreted 2 different ways. So, the review would be done in year 2, implementation year 3, and just frankly, what we did before. Good. Well, thank you for the presentation, Marianne. I appreciate all the hard work. All in favor? It's carried.
Okay, have a great rest of the meeting, and thanks very much for bringing me in early. I appreciate it.
No
Bye,
problem.
folks. Bye-bye.
Dean to please. Leave on the consent agenda items. Your recommendation.
Yes, the consent agenda items listed for the November 27th, 2024 council meeting be received for information.
Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Hurst, Councillor Bailey, any items to be pulled out?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Let's go. Go ahead, Hurst.
I've noticed in the notes that Councillor Sipolis has some motions prepared, so if that's
Perfect.
okay with
Yeah,
you?
go ahead.
Okay,
I just didn't want to skip you.
yeah, okay.
Page 6.2 and 6.3, Township of Otter, regarding distribution land transfer tax and property sales, yes, for both of them. And then the TAPMO November 2024 newsletter. If there's a motion proposed, or a cited rather on page 195.
Okay. Councillor Bailey?
No.
Councillor Hurst?
Already been flagged, so good.
Okay. So we'll receive the remainder of those?
Yes.
All in favor? It's carried. Actually, I should have pulled out. Councillor Spillis, are you only pulling out 612?
I'm only pointing out the one with the motion, which was 612.
Can you remind me, Madam CEO, the 3 letters that I penned, were they circulated to other municipalities? through TAPMO?
So through Mr. Chair, yes, the executive director of TAPMO plans on circulating the 3 items, I believe, only to members of TAPMO
So my letters are only going to members of TAPMO?
and who they're addressed to. I believe that's what the direction from TAPMO was at their last meeting.
I think, can you pull out number 10 and 11 as well?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, glad to.
I may be going against the executive director, but I'd like to educate all of the municipalities on concerns we have. Okay, perfect. So 6.2, Councillor Spillis.
6.2, 6.3, Mr. Mayor, this was a motion that was originally tabled by the mayor of Aurora, and it has to do with municipalities getting a share of the land transfer tax, which is collected by the province. and also share of the GST, which is, collected by the federal government. This is a very interesting way of looking at, we, the municipality, create the opportunity for these, services to occur, the businesses to come here, for lands to be bought, sold type of thing, and yet we get nothing out of this. So what this motion is asking, asking us, well, give us a fair share of that. And I see nothing wrong with that. I think it's a win-win. The government, both provincial and federal, gets the opportunity to basically give us cash from something that's generated rather than from the pocketbook of residents. And it also gives us the opportunity with another sustainable source of funding.
Do we need to read the whole resolution, or how do you want to deal with it?
So through Mr. Chair, what we've done in the past is we can receive it for information, and then our resolution will say, whereas the Township of Prince Lynch supports the motion by the municipality, that therefore we pass a support resolution as follows, and then we will just highlight the resolution and tweak it a little for our purposes.
Okay, sure.
Comfortable with that?
That's absolutely.
So Councilor Willis move that. Can I get a seconder, and then we'll discuss it. Councilor Hurst. All right. Alex?
Yes, I think it's an excellent idea. I support it 100%.
That's good.
I did too. I thought it had come up earlier, in fact. Does anyone recall? That we've seen this
You
earlier?
maybe recall receiving an email from the mayor of Aurora.
Okay, I was gonna say, I've read this before and
exactly.
thought it was a good
And,
idea.
I would ask staff to put it on the agenda, perhaps in December or whatever, but I
Okay,
noticed these two came up, so I said, let's do it now.
great. Yep, no, I support that. It's great.
Councilor Hurst.
Nothing to add.
All right, you're comfortable with, okay, all in favor? Yeah, it was Councilor Bailey.
Thank you.
Perfect.
One of them.
First,
Councilor
yeah,
Hurst.
thank you.
You gotta do that quicker.
Yes. 6.3. It's the same. Right. All right, now, let's do 9, 10, 11, 12, all of them.
Okay, so on this point, time, Mayor, and 6.10, 6.11, I understand you have some information you'd like to bring up to us on that, which you please supply us with information is.
Other than what's in the letters,
Yes,
remind me.
you asked me to pull this out so we can, so
Oh, well, these letters we penned, and I asked the CAO for clarification. We only circulated them to TAPMO members. So I'd like to educate, other municipalities that have agri operations with, some of the advocacy you're doing and the challenges we're seeing and concerns raised, and, the erosion of the assessment review board decision, which was upheld by the divisional court by the Ministry of Finance implementation of a tax class that does not maintain a revenue neutral revenue stream, is very concerning. So I hope I'm not upsetting our executive director, but at TAPMO, I'd like to send these letters out to all municipalities just as an information session for them. And that's basically what I have to add, other than what's in the letters. And then and I believe are we approaching the newsletter that we prepared the same way, this way, Fox?
Yes, so through,
portion of our CEO, the fact that we received these, do we as a council, can we forward them to the other municipalities without having to go back to TAPMO?
yes, so through Mr. Chair, I don't see concern with forwarding these on. They're part of a public package. I believe the idea from the executive director of TAPMO was that these would be something that the member municipalities would receive regularly and directly through the executive director as sort of a incentive to be a member of TAPMO. But again, they will become public record once they're on those agendas, and municipalities can circulate them as they choose.
Okay, so I have two motions. One is to have the 6.9 and 6.12 be sent to the other municipalities for their information and the action they deem appropriate. And then with respect to 6.12, there's a motion on page 195, basically, which talks about what you referred to, Mr. Mayor, is the one-time $7 million reduction in the education fees, and carries on that the subclass of 2025 and the concern we have this and the And it goes on to say that, we object to it, it doesn't uphold the principle of neutrality. It doesn't commit to meaningful reform, ensures fairness, consistency across all sectors of information. And we're asking the province to take, immediate action and respect the integrity of the legal process, which was a hard battle, to, get in the first place.
So I'll take that as a mover and then we'll take a second in case. I'll give a little more in-depth detail about this. In our discussions with MOF, initially they provided a $7 million rebate to the education component of the agri sector's taxes. And that was a recommendation that came out of TAPMO, that if you need to subsidize this industry, don't do it on the backs of municipalities, and that was adopted. Fast forward a bunch of meetings later with the creation of the tax class, MOF wanted to carry over $6 million worth of that subsidy, and then $3 million of it ended up back on the municipal taxpayer, which is where this resolution addresses that we have the concerns. We are not addressing the $3 million that the government is deciding to rebate them through the education taxes. The way TAPMO is viewing that is that's the provincial's prerogative. As an individual, you may not support it, but as a municipal leaders, that doesn't impact our residents directly. So we're focusing on that half of the $6 million they're carrying forward for 25. And everything that you stated is true, you know, the concerns around not respecting the legal process that was gone through with Malenti County, so. That's just a little more clarity. So did I get a mover and seconder for that? Okay, so comments, Councillor Goida? Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I'm in favor of what's happening here, and I think the communication's great. I think the newsletter itself is really great, so
She penned it.
I'm wondering, I mean, to me, it's the newsletter that I think should be going out to all the different municipalities, whether they need the letters or not. I'm here or there with that one, but I think the newsletter is really important. It gives a good kind of summary of what's happening. I'm wondering if we should also be sharing this with our local, drawing a blank on, our education rep.
Like Upper Grand, like the school board kind of thing, or the
No.
board, the.
Sorry, forgetting.
The
Just
trustees?
as our local trustee. I think if a lot of people in the education world knew what was happening, there would be a lot of support to what TAPMO is doing.
So if they find out, then the government then takes the $3 million that the trustees have to absorb and put it on our side.
No, not do either of those.
I know,
Like, the fact that money's coming out of education for this, it's
all
a
concerning.
big deal. That's a big deal. So I think at least sending it to our trustee, local trustee, you know, or the trustees of the of the TAPMO,
That's fine.
I think might be, just good communication. So they know what's going on and they can share it.
To speak to your point about the newsletter's more priority, I would ask that when they forward these, they don't forward the newsletter with the letters. I don't want the newsletter getting lost.
Yes.
So if they can go as separate, put the 3 letters penned by, I didn't pen them entirely myself. We have some people edit them, chip them for, but have them go out and then the newsletter is a separate correspondence. Just to, I think that'll help address, like,
And the newsletter is gonna be a regular correspondence. Is that the intention?
So through Mr. Chair, right now, it's been determined to be quarterly, but there's a pressing issue that's coming up and there's the opportunity to do one.
I'm slightly concerned and I'm supportive of sending this newsletter out to everyone. I feel that the executive director wants the members to have priority, have this newsletter. This is such an important topic, deviating from that slightly. But we'll have to just have I'll just have to inform them that we did this, and I'm sure the members received it already, so at least they got it first.
Through Mr. Chair, the director is aware that this is going on our agenda, maybe a little bit sooner than on other member municipalities. So he's aware of that and he was Support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Counselor Hurst?
Yeah, a couple things. So I think, just at a high level strategic perspective, this is a good opportunity to market TAPCO to those municipalities that maybe aren't on the upper tier of aggregate, but have aggregate. That would be impacted maybe to a lesser degree, but impacted less. So I guess just strategically, I like the concept of sharing this. I guess the second piece from my standpoint, specifically to items 6.9 and 6.10 and 6.11, less in the newsletter, but I think more municipalities that are fully understanding the potential budget impacts of this decision as part of their budget planning process, which all municipalities to some degree are going through currently. I think that's a high degree of transparency. My suggestion for a future TAPMO meeting, similar to all the correspondence that we get as a municipality, how do you get this grassroots push amongst all the municipalities back up to the minister to address this? The reality is it doesn't happen with one municipality airing its grievances. It happens when there's a number of municipalities that come with a very consistent message, similar to our prior conversation around the land transfer tax. So this is an opportunity for this township to play a leadership role. So that'll be my suggestion. I'll leave that to the minds at TAPMO to how to best navigate that, but that was just my take. So I'm very supportive.
Feel that we should pose the question, I believe it's in 6.12, the last letter to Premier Ford and Minister Bethany Falvey. Should pose that very question to Minister Bethany Falvey at the Roma Bear Pit. And see if we can get an answer right, unless we get a response before that we're satisfied with, but maybe staff, and I know Justine, maybe some cue cards, cheat sheets, whatever you want to call them, for AMO that we didn't utilize, but that would be great if we can. I'll sit up there and ask them. So, the undermining of the legal process is very concerning. So, okay. Any further? Just Wilson.
Okay, I noticed, AMO, are AMO copied, directly through TAPMO?
Sorry, just
Email.
is email. Let's see if there's any resolution. The proposed resolution in the TAPMO newsletter, does suggest, sending this resolution, any municipalities that support it, to Minister of Finance, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, your local school boards, AMO, Roma, local MPP and all municipalities, and MPAC.
Not sure if TAPMO sent it to AMO or not.
Trustees.
Yeah, trustees. Okay.
We can change that to local school board trustees.
Anything further? All in favor? It's carried. Alright, no delegations. Public meeting, November 27th, 2024, that's tonight at 7 PM. Public information meeting held in person at the municipal office, 7404 Wellington Road 34, and by electronic participation through Zoom regarding the following: zoning bylaw amendment application D14 QUI 1873 Town Line Road, zoning bylaw amendment application D14 JEF 86 Farnham Road, zoning bylaw amendment application D14 SCR 443 Watson Road. See everybody here at 7 PM.
Through Mr. Chair, there may be benefit in advancing the verbal report about the shed donations before the grant or the budget report, just so that council will have that information before making decisions on both of those items.
Sure.
I can just.
I don't know where it is, that's why I was just like, sure.
Yeah,
Verbal report.
Verbal report, it should be the last report at the end. It's under rec.
9.6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Councilor Bailey, Councilor Goida, advancing the item.
Yeah.
All in favor? It's carried.
Okay, so through Mr. Chair, this was just an update based on, the last meeting that we had discussing the replacement of the shed where we had the delegate, Bruce Joy, attend council to talk about the fire that had taken place. And council had earmarked funds for the rebuilding of the shed through the budget process. And had also asked staff to, engage with the community on any potential donations, whether, for labor or materials or financial donations. And so council, staff want to give council just an update on that prior to reviewing the grant applications as well as the operating budget. And so I do have some information here. We did get quite a bit of interest in donations, donating time, and around $1,000 so far has been donated in cash value to the township. We have 3 contractors within the township that are willing to donate in-kind support via labor to actually build the shed. So there was discussion around the folks that are building the shed and providing their time, having some sort of a reciprocal agreement in place for advertising on the shed after it's built, and staff can investigate that further and what that can look like and bring that back to council. But at this time, we should be thinking about adjusting perhaps the budget amount for the construction of it, given that the labor is going to be potentially covered with that $1,000 donation. In addition, we did learn through the president, Bruce Joy, that there was some substantial donations made to the club directly to cover the cost of their lost equipment. I don't have the exact dollar value. It wasn't made to the township, it was made to the club. So something to consider with the grant application that's being put forward by the club as well. And I don't know if our director of Public Works and Parks might be able to talk a little bit about how much the labor donation would offset the overall cost of the reconstruction.
Mr. Fowler, if that was a question to him,
I think so. I haven't heard him.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, could the question be repeated, please? I'm having trouble with my internet today.
Yes, the question was just with the donation of the labor to build the shed, how much would that offset the overall cost of the reconstruction in terms of how much council should be considering budgeting for materials?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the estimated costs that were given were around the 18,000 range. So I think we're still looking at probably at least 15. Once it's all said and done with the the newer additions that Pussman Soccer is requesting.
So just a question. That 18 was originally base budget approval for a levy increase of 18. Why don't we just give the approval of 18 out of the parkland dedication that comes in under, we just use less of our parkland dedication and we don't have to really worry about it. So which one is it? Is it on levy or is it on parkland dedication?
I can speak to that if you'd like. I believe it was cash in lieu of parkland. That's how it's been budgeted based on council's direction.
So my perspective would be just, if maximum is 18, if it comes in under, that's great news. It's just less out of the reserve. So maybe go around the table because you're looking for direction on that, adjusting it, but I'm not necessarily.
So if you, Mr. Chair, this verbal update can be received for information, and then you guys can maybe discuss through the budget report what you'd like to do, knowing this information.
Well, let's just receive thoughts. Thanks for it.
I mean, I'm kind of indifferent either way. I'm happy to leave the 18,000 in the budget coming out of cash in lieu. There's no, like you say, there's no levy impact, so it doesn't really affect anything. If it doesn't all get used, it stays in that reserve anyway. But I would be hopeful that we're not using the donations as a reason to just make the scope of the project substantially more, because the intent of the donations is to bring the cost down. So, you know, I would be happy leaving the 18,000 in there, but I would expect that it doesn't reach that.
And it doesn't turn into a $30,000 shed.
Right.
Gotcha. Suppose.
Yes, I think, our CEO was trying to ask, our Director of Works a question. What, of the $18,000, what is the breakdown between labor and materials, given the fact that, our CEO has indicated we had some, three firms in, our township interested in providing the labor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the breakdown with the quotes that were given was approximately 12,000 in material and around 6,000 in labor. Just for clarification, the reason that the number is still relatively close, even with the donated labor, is the possibility of having a hydro line sent, basically erected from County Road 36 to the shed to provide power for either a light or security cameras.
Okay, so you're saying the $15,000 is all materials, basically, plus the hydro? Does not include the labor associated with constructing the, facility?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, the number that I gave today includes material and the upgrades of possibly having a hydro line run to the new shed. It does not
Okay, so that's-
include the donated labor.
Okay, so that's the 15.
12. Oh, I heard 12.
He said 15, then he said 12. And then
So which one is, Mike, is it the 15 you were mentioning earlier?
Yeah, so we're still at 12 for material. The added 3 will be the cost of possibly running a hydro line overhead to the new shed.
I'm good. Thank you.
Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, I'm good. It's great to hear that some contractors have stepped forward and we already have received some cash donations, so that's good news.
Councilor Hurst?
Yeah, I'm supportive. I think Councillor Goyda made a good point. Maybe my only question, and I don't want to get into the hairy details. Solar option versus hydro, is that even a feasible idea, Mr. Fowler, or is that just a very complicated process to go through for a storage shed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not fully educated on solar. I haven't looked into it. I did get a quote for the overhead hydro. I would be reluctant with any type of solar panel on the roof for any type of vandalism.
And I won't push it. It just kind of occurred to me that maybe there's options there, but I think overall the direction is, I'm supportive of.
One comment I'd have, and I don't mean to sound critical, but we had interest from the community wanting to donate to the shed and things of that nature, and then, we had to create a portal. And then, the wording was seeking, community donations, and people in the community spun that as we weren't going to replace the shed without support from the community, and turned it into something negative. I just, maybe staff be cognizant of the wording. This is what it's come down to now. Like, instead of saying, like, we weren't necessarily seeking, it was more, here's where you go if you want to donate. Because council's resolution was to repair the shed. It does have an impact, and if there are great citizens out there and companies that want to help support an unbudgeted replacement of a shed, that's wonderful. It was unfortunate that it was spun that we were seeking help, and it almost spun as we weren't going to do it without that help, so. I'll just leave it at that. It was just frustrating to have that narrative turned around on us, but,
On social media.
yeah, on social media, so. From the get-go, this council and the township has been supportive of replacing the shed, and we're going to make it happen, so, anyways. So we can receive this for information, and we can, so all in favor of receiving that for information, I move or seconder?
Yeah.
Councilor supposed to move it?
Yeah.
Councilor Goyda?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all in favor, that's carried. All right, now we can dive into 9.2.1, correct?
Yeah.
If council's happy, I'll just walk through this. My thoughts are just deal with each of the applications that everybody is in on and get a feel for the land, and then we'll just work through the ones that people have their community on. So for Aberfoyle Agricultural Society, we have a grant application for 3,000. Councilor Goyda?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the fall fair is, it's a significant, it has significance to the township. And I think it's important that we continue to support this. When I look at their budget, they're basically, just breaking even, and that is with the inclusion of the township grant. So without that grant, it appears that they would have a shortfall. So I think, the support from the municipality, is crucial, not just in terms of the dollars, but just in terms of demonstrating support to farmers and agriculture and those types of things. So I have no problem with the grant as it's been proposed.
Okay, I suppose.
I'm fully in favor of the grant. They have the fair every fall, and it's enjoyed by a lot of residents. So I agree.
Okay, Councillor Bailey,
Yeah, I'm in support of the 3,000 ask.
Councillor Hurst.
Yeah, two comments. It's a showpiece event for the community on an annual basis, so I think that's really important. And the second is, municipalities invested a lot of financial resources into the community center campus, and this is a great one of the several opportunities to showcase that property and all the new upgrades. And to me, this is very supportive.
Yeah, I'm in support as well. I think it's a showcase as well, and they do a great job. We'll support those groups that provide these events. I'm gonna skip down to Whistle Stop because I believe that's the last one we're all in on. So Whistle Stop is the daycare for the young children that operates at the community center. They're asking for $1,000. Councillor Goya?
Yeah, I have no concern with that at all.
I have no concern.
Definitely in support of Whistle Stop.
Yeah. Yes, we will.
Both my kids had a very positive experience there over the years, and I think it's a great initiative. So yeah, very supportive.
My kids went there as well. I believe somebody else's children went there as well. And it's not biasing our decision making. It's a good program. All right, so the first one that we have to deal with one individual at least is Friends of Mill Creek. Am I making you nervous? So it's just Councillor Spose for Friends of Mill Creek. My memory serves me right. Correct.
We do soccer.
But I'm gonna get to it.
Okay.
Because, oh no, nobody has a conflict on soccer, but I wanna leave soccer to the end. It's gonna see where we land for budgetary reasons, so I'm gonna deviate from my initial statement. Because they're asking for $12,000 or $13,000 and. If we approved all of them, we were actually over what the policy permits, so going through these to find out if we land where we land, and then we'll have some discussion. Does that work?
And just so that the minutes are clear, Councillor Sipolis has conflict with the Optimist Club and Friends of Mill Creek.
Yeah,
correct.
So Councillor Spillis out on this one. Friends of Mill Creek, $3,000. Councillor Goida?
So the Ranger program, the way I look at it, really is a win-win program. Not only does their work benefit the community and the creek, but it also provides opportunities for youth in the area to become interested and invested in ecology and hydrology. And those are professions that we rely on heavily in this township. So I attend those meetings on a regular basis. I think they do great work. They rely 100% on donations. And if you look at their financials, they are struggling to get donations. So I worry that program is going to become at risk if it doesn't continue to get support. So my opinion is that we support it as the ask has been given.
Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I'm in support as well. I think it's a fantastic program and like you said, I worry that it won't happen without the donations that they get. Something I did notice in their financials is that they have to pay a GRC Foundation admin fee. I'm guessing GRC is Grand River Conservation. And so I'm struggling with why they have to pay that 3,000 admin fee to their sort of own association that they're part of. Just a comment, but I mean, if they didn't have to pay that and we gave a $3,000 donation, it's almost like a $6,000 in their pocket. So I don't know if we can give feedback to that or just talking to Don McKay, but anyway, that was just something where I thought oh, we're giving them three. They're asking for $3,000, which is essentially gonna cover their admin fee. And, you know, struggle with that, but. Anyway, I'm in support of the 3,000.
Counselor Hurst?
In support. Well said.
No, staff can follow up with them, just find out, maybe we can advocate to GRCA, if it is GRCA, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's a typo or if it's a different organization. Find out the detail,
It is.
so maybe we could request the GRCA to make an in-kind donation to the equivalent of.
That has been a topic of discussion at their meetings. It's a relatively new, GRCA that's a new implementation. It's 20%. So they take a 20% cut of all donations that are made to cover their own administrative costs through their budget. And Don McKay has advocated heavily on that with no success. So if that's something that the township could support or would support in advocating on their behalf, that would be very helpful because they've been unsuccessful in doing that on their own.
I wouldn't have a hard time supporting that if we wanted to pen a letter or something, just in support.
I think we need to have staff report back on that.
Yeah, get.
Contact GRCA and find out the details, the
Yeah.
reasoning.
Yeah.
And report back before we, I just don't wanna shoot from the hip, but on a high level, I'm like, maybe there's some room here. Or we could increase. Probably,
Yeah.
we could increase, we only asked for 3. We could move the numbers around, give them a little more until we can get that resolved, but anyways. Actually, it's my turn to speak, so yeah, we could, like Sunrise asked for 3. They won't like to hear this, maybe reduce them to their ask and give the Friends of the Mill Creek a bump. Or just leave it as is for this year and deal through that process, and that's probably the better way to go about it.
Sorry, a question, if we were to bump it up, do they still take 20%? Let's say we do $4,000 donation,
So it's.
how does that work?
I hope I'm speaking on this correctly. So Friends of Mill Creek has their own bank account, but the donations through the website go to the fund through GRCA. So if GRCA is receiving those funds on behalf of running the Ranger program, because it's the GRCA who pays the staff, so the funds that are in the GRCA account are what pays the Rangers, whereas the Friends of Mill Creek account is what pays for like the insurance, the rentals, things like that. But anything that goes through that GRCA account is subject to that fee. So if our grant application is going straight to Friends of Mill Creek, like if
Can
the
we
check
split
is
them in?
made out to
Yeah.
Friends of Mill Creek, then that administrative fee won't apply.
So I would
If that
suggest the
makes
check goes straight to Friends of Mill
Yeah.
Creek. If it's possible,
Maybe we leave
and
it.
we'll leave it at that, we'll do a little more digging and see if we can.
Yeah.
Do a little advocacy for them for a lower percentage for the administrative costs. Okay, so we're good with Friends of Mill Creek, right? Optimist Club, it's just one of them, just you, Councilor Lewis. They're asking for 5,085. Councilors Goya?
Yeah, I think, so their ask is to cover the fireworks, if I understand correct. And I would say the thing about the Canada Day celebration is it's something that literally every member of our community can participate in for free. So everybody gets the benefit of that. I think it's a super well attended event. I know last year, I believe the city of Guelph did not do fireworks. So it was another really great, as Councilor Hurst said, another really great opportunity to showcase our own facilities. So I really have no problem approving this grant either.
Councilor Bailey?
Yeah, I'm good.
Councilor Hurst? Sorry, Councilor Bailey.
Well said by my colleagues. I don't think I have anything to add.
Yeah, I'm supportive of it as well. All right, now Sunrise Therapeutic. Let's.
Yeah, I'm in favor of giving them the same as last year, 3,000 type of thing. Our budget is struck on the basis of maintaining the 14.8. So, right now, total without, adding in Sunrise and, minus soccer is 12.1, so we're starting to get, probably go over 14.8. But I think we've been more than generous, but to Sunrise over the last few years, such as the, Lakeland Development Charges, that was an expensive, dollar amount, I think it's in the order of about $70,000-$80,000 plus, all the donations given over the year, so, I just, looking at, maintaining the three.
Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I did call Lynn at Sunrise just to get an idea of what, 5,000 ask was for helmets, and I thought that seemed like a lot of helmets to be purchasing. After chatting with Lynn, she was just saying each helmet's at least $120. They're hoping for about 40 helmets. Sizing between extra small and extra large, and they probably need 4 to 5 of each size at minimum. They've got Little Britches program, they've got camp, they've got this new program called Equine Learning. So all of those people need to be wearing helmets, whether they're on a horse or with a horse, in order to sort of maintain their safety there. And helmets expire. So they're just kind of going through a whole process of replacing all the different helmets. She said on Saturdays, they can have up to 35 kids in lessons. So that's why the number of helmets. So when I'm looking at this, and I'm just gonna jump ahead to the soccer, my intention was to not do a lot with the soccer in light of all the donations they're getting. So when looking at the numbers, I'm actually okay with the $5,000 that Sunrise is requesting.
Okay, I'm tentatively okay with the 5K, so we'll leave it in for a minute, but I want everybody back in the conversation for this next part. Whereas, Councillor Goyda, you had brought it up, I believe, last year's budget. Because 2 years ago, we had reduced the grants, and then, you know, I was in agreement with you that I didn't completely understand the impacts going forward, that we'd have less money, and I felt like there was a desire to get back closer to what the policy states, which is, the 26,795. A little contrary to what, Councillor Willis, you know, wanting to get to the 14,870. So my thoughts were leave the 5 in. I have a note here that at a minimum, we reduce soccer by 3290 to bring us in compliance with the 26,795, which is what the policy states. But I also have, I recognize that soccer has been receiving lots of donations. So my thought was, anyways, actually I'm gonna pause there because I don't want to jump into soccer, but let's have a little discussion about trying to get back to what the policy states, which is the 26 versus the 14.8. So Councillor Goyda.
Yeah, I do agree with you that, these community groups, they contribute so much to the township. And it would be really great to be able to, give grants to what our policy indicates that we can give. So I have no objection to doing that. All that being said, the budget is tight and we're looking at cutting things to bring it down. So I don't know if we can maybe phase it instead of doing it all in 1 year to get to that max, if we phase it in a little bit again. Either way, I'm happy with either one.
Suppose.
I guess my initial reaction is I just want to do what's necessary, but I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Mayor. I would support phasing it in. Perhaps we would go half between what I think we're looking at, what, 24,000 or is it 26?
26,795, I believe.
Yeah, 26, so perhaps we do it divide that by three, start increasing it over, next 3 years, say $9,000, increase to 14 by 7, and then 7 to 21, and then the year after, be another 7.
So, Counselor Goida,
Yeah.
are you interested in blending in or going up as Counselor Spool is saying, you know, adding say another $7,000, whatever that, see,
Yeah,
until we figure
I
out.
don't exactly, I'm
So I guess-
trying to calculate how that all plays out, but I think that's what we did last year, is we incrementally increased it so that we could start building it back up again, and I'm fine going along that same path, increase it over time.
So it says here, 2024, the amount was 24,993. So that money should have been in the operating budget last year, 24,993. Is that not correct?
I can,
No, that was-
Oh, sorry. So the 14,870 was the amount in.
sorry, the amount that was in the budget in 2024 was 16,870. We paid 14,870 because there was an organization that we approved in the 2024 budget that didn't get paid out in 2024 year to date because their organization wasn't operating anymore. I believe it was the Aberfoyle Farmers Market. And so the budget that's been presented to council has an amount of 16,870, which is equal to what we budgeted last year.
Okay, so there's 16,870 to play with. Okay. Are you a hard line at the last year's budget line or interested in sneaking it up towards more compliance with the policy?
Yeah, I mean, again, without talking about soccer, but talking about soccer was throwing in their 3,000, bringing it up to 20,000 for this year.
So you're in
that way,
support of going up.
going up
from-
a little bit, but
and-
maybe not to the max.
Okay.
Yeah.
Counselor Hurst?
I think Council Bill makes a good point. I think that's where my head's at philosophically.
Okay, so let's talk about soccer then now. Their original request, 3,000, asking 13. Counselor, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I am in support of soccer. I think it's positive news to hear that they've gotten a lot of donations. So if, again, talking about soccer without talking about the others, if whatever number we land on, I would be supportive of giving that amount to soccer.
Where are you at?
Well, I was gonna say the difference, the halfway difference between where we were last year and what the maximum is. So I think that brings the total to.
Okay, so
I wish I
this-
had a calculator here.
So, what's halfway between 14,870 and 16,870
And
and
26.
26,795?
10,000 is what we thought,
So 5,000 on top of that.
on top of 16.
So let's add 5,000, 28,870, now minus. Now minus,
Everything we've got in here?
yes,
Okay.
okay, so, sorry, was you right?
Yep.
Are you good? No?
Okay, I don't know what the numbers got add up to, but certainly it's not gonna be, it's gonna be less than 3,000 by the time doing that.
So without soccer, not considering any zero to soccer, but all of the other numbers that we've looked at, you're left with $4,785 unaccounted for if we increase the $16,000 budget up to the 21,000. So right now there is $4,785 after you have approved 3,000 for the Ag Society, 1,000 for Whistle Stop, 5,000 for Sunrise, 5,085 for Optimus, and 3,000 for Friends of Mill Creek.
Sorry, can you say, what's the total for those again?
The total for all of those is going to be $17,085. And the target was 21,807.
4K that we can give to the soccer club. and not go over
Almost five.
Yeah. 4.5.
47.
47, 5K.
Does that add up? Because we have 16,870 in the budget and we've already approved 17,080, so we're already over on the first four approvals of what's in the operating budget. So we still will have whatever number you just said, approximately 4,000 change to, okay.
Yeah.
So that's essentially the conversation is foreign change to the soccer club, which will bring us to that 21,000 bucks.
Almost 22,000.
Counselor Guida?
Yes, I think that is a reasonable and balanced way to do it.
Okay, the only caveat I got, if they receive, $14,000 for, the equipment they lost, I don't see why would we be, responsible for 13,000.
I have a comment about the replacement equipment and something that maybe staff can do. So once I go to the other
Yeah, so my
councils.
suggestion would be is, come up with less whatever contributions they get over and above 13,000.
So,
Yeah, I don't mind supporting that number, 4,700, whatever, providing they need it.
I'm supportive of Councillor Sproulis's thoughts. I think you give them an upper tier based on, a dialogue with Bruce Joy, and a needs assessment conversation. Maybe less than that if they've had what I am understanding is a great deal of financial support to cover their losses. Although within this report, some of it's just equipment renewal, some of it's to address other circumstances that they've encountered. So I guess it's hard to be absolute here because we don't know all the answers, but I like Councillor Sproulis's idea of an upper tier based on a needs assessment, based on new information. I'll stop there.
yeah, I was in the same thought process. I feel that they need to provide staff with the receipts of the equipment purchases. And then, a spreadsheet of donations received. So and then, to an upper amount, we will contribute to this. They have to just be transparent on, because there are a lot of community members. So is that a fair ask? No?
I just remember years ago, Councillor Ballmer saying, we give a grant and we just trust that they use it for what they need it for what the intention is, and we're not micromanaging what they're using it for.
Council just stated though, that it's an upper limit. How do you?
Yeah,
How do
but I
you-
don't think we
how
need
do you-
receipts to prove things. I think just through dialogue with Bruce Joy should be sufficient, and just trust that it's getting used for what it needs to be used for.
My other comment is, the original request I struggled with because our minor sports groups, we provide a significant discount as support. So then we could potentially opening the floodgates to all minor sports coming in looking for grants, where the support is actually the 90 or 75% reduction in rental rates. They get prime, they get a lot of benefits from the township. But because we had this unforeseen circumstance of the shed, they need help with the equipment, but. So we'll just leave it at the upper tier of whatever the number is, 4,000.
4,750.
And staff can manage that with the soccer club as they.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna suggest that we ensure, even if there's a reduction, based on, contributions from the public, that we still maintain the budget line at 21. In other words, we don't reduce it.
Like this budget should have said 16,870, like for 2024, it's payments. Technically, we only paid 14,870.
I'm sure they could have had a note at the bottom.
Could have
of
had
this
a note.
budget, yeah.
There was 16,870 in the budget. Okay, so you have it?
I'm going to read it out to make sure, and I'm just gonna do a quick calculation here.
Mayor, would you be separating these out based on the conflicts that you must have?
I have them broken out, and hopefully it works, yeah. So the first resolution is that report FIN 2024-030 entitled 2025 grant application program be received, and that council approves the grant allocations amounting to $8,785 as outlined below. The Ag Society, $3,000, Wilson Schweiner Soccer Club, $4,785, Whistle Stop Cooperative Preschool, $1,000, and I have all members of council on this.
Gonna go for that, please, Councillor Goida, Councillor Hurst, all in favor of those? Okay, carry.
Second resolution, I have Councillor Goida and Councillor Hurst with a conflict, and that council approves a grant allocation amount of $5,000 to Sunrise Therapeutic Riding and Learning Center.
Councillor Bailey, who's the other one in still? Councillor Sepulveda, okay, all in favor? It's carried.
And the last, I have Councillor Sepulveda with a conflict, that council approves the grant allocations amounting to $8,085 as outlined below. So the Optimist Club of Quislinch, $5,085, and Friends of Mill Creek, $3,000.
Councillor Hurst, Councillor Bailey, all in favor? Who was out on that one? Who was on that? That's carried. That's good. There's mine.
Total, sorry, the grand total is 21 even?
$21,870 is the grand total.
Next, we're gonna move right into the operating budget report.
85 is 85. Yes.
Just give them a couple minutes. Ready?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna move right into Mary's report for the operating budget. And on page, I believe I'm on 270, there's 3 items here that we need to make a decision on. It's the 175th anniversary of the township, proposed zoning bylaw amendments 15K, and peer review statements of cultural heritage value 2,000. So if you just give your opinion on those 3, we'll just work through this report. Councillor Goida?
Sorry, I'm scrolling down to the,
I didn't go to the base budget.
no, but each of those items has its own sheet type of thing, right?
Schedule C2.
Yes, they do.
Sorry, I'm just.
I just gotta go through her. You wanna do the base? So I was just on the first page of her report, and there's 5 things actually that,
I can share my screen.
312.
Yeah.
312.
mine's 270, I must have the addendums.
No, the 312 is actually budget sheet starts.
Would it be helpful to put it up on the screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
split.
I don't like how the budget sheets are way down below, you know, the indication at the beginning of the report, so then we gotta scroll back and forth and. But
Great,
it's,
I'll zoom this in.
so do you wanna go to the budget sheets to, is that more helpful? Cause there's actually an item in this report that doesn't have a budget sheet, and I have a note on it that needs,
This is the first item.
so I don't know if you need to see a budget sheet when it says it, so you can just.
Sure, we can look at that too.
The budget sheet supports this component of her report.
And there's 2 charts within the resolution. We can look at the first one first.
There's the chart I'm speaking to, and there's 5 items here.
Can you share my screen?
Most if not all have an accompanying budget sheet later in the report on them. So the first one is the 175th anniversary for the township.
Yes.
Yes.
I have a question about it. I think it's recommended in there that the township was gonna cover food costs and then charge the public $1.75 per food item. Is that correct? And I'm just thinking that's a really awkward number to work with. I'm wondering if we can change it to $2 and make it a toonie truck, toonie you know, and that way you're not working with quarters, just I'm thinking logistics around that. So I'm wondering if we change it to a $2, what that would impact the cost to.
20. I think I just leave that with staff.
Yeah, well, that was because that would
Because-
lower that number.
It'll just be a budget, which surplus
Yeah.
and office and so.
Just think it's easy. I pulled my 12-year-old and I said, would you rather pay $1.75 and count out all your money or give a toonie like a toonie?
Wow. You better have a good job
He
going.
just said it's easier to,
Yes, it
manage
is,
with
it
money.
is, it is.
So toonie truck was my
They can take
comment.
that out of the
Yeah.
takeaway, but, for the difference, I think we can just be comfortable with.
Trying to lower wherever I can.
I understand that, but I mean. Anyways, any other comments, Councilor Hurst?
My initial reaction was, oh, that's a great revenue generator for the Optimist Club to run the food truck. Why are we subsidizing it in the first place?
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a supported observation or not. That's just the one I had.
Yeah, I'm fine with 1535. I think that's 3, so. Proposed zoning bylaw amendment, 15,000 for the review.
Yeah, I'm just confirming this is coming. These 3 items here are coming out of 2024 surplus. Is that is 10? Mary, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
noted.
intent.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
That one might be, issues we're gonna be covering off, the, home industry, short-term accommodations, extracted zoning. They're all hot buttons we gotta.
Mhm.
address.
Yours. Okay, and then 2,000 for the peer review statements of cultural heritage value.
Good with it, yeah.
Okay.
Supported?
And the EOC director cell phone, $627.
Yeah, who, just wondering how that works, is that person take that phone with them all the time, or is it like they're in the office and they find?
So through Mr. Chair, this is to support our deputy clerk who's taking on that backup role. It was based on looking at who backups and primaries were at our last emergency management session, and there was some conflicts if certain people were away on holidays, who would be backing that up. So she's taking on that role, and so it'll be a cell phone that she'll have with her at all times in case there's an emergency.
Lucky you.
She have a holster? Put it on her
I
hip?
was
Is there anything else the phone can be used for?
So, Mr. Chair, it'll be used, and our staff member may not like this, but the numbers are given out internally, and so it's used like all of leadership if there's any emergencies that arise that maybe are not covered under the EOC.
Okay,
So lots of use.
okay,
Yeah.
good to know. Thanks, Sarah.
no issues.
All right.
Enjoy.
All right, Hamilton Health Science Medical Oversight. Councilor Grant?
Yeah, to be honest, I really didn't quite understand what that one was for.
She just left. I could
Oh.
give my insight.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I had questions about it as well. I'm just not clear what it's for. I don't know what Red Cross can't cover, that this is,
Can you explain to council the Hamilton Health Science Medical Oversight?
Okay, so in the county, with the exception of the city of Guelph, no fire department has had medical oversight, which is a doctor and a profession giving medical directives to the fire department. So this is going to allow us to do Narcans and other things through medical directives. So it's never been done before with the other municipalities, and that's what the purpose of it is.
so we can't gain some of that knowledge through the Red Cross program that we've already,
No,
Approved?
so Red Cross is basic first aid and CPR. This is taking it to another level with medical delegated authority.
So if I can help, you're essentially working under the doctor's license. And then, my understanding, there's reporting requirements, training requirements, they may even come in and audit. I remember doctors coming in and witnessing you do these scenarios because you are essentially working under their license. And I guess I assume this fee is associated with the administrative component of all of that program, so it gives you more abilities if we so desire. I don't know where our service levels are going, but it's,
So we haven't had it up to now. This is new.
This is new for the county, and the county chiefs got together. So an example, if I could use it, is before in a car accident, everybody always got collared. So there's always a neck collar put on somebody involved in an accident. Through delegated authority, there's certain questions and things that we're trained on that states, okay, this person doesn't need one anymore. You don't get that through the Red Crow.
and in the past, we had base hospital. Didn't that program go away? And that's why something new is coming into place, so it's always, it's like everything else we deal with, it kind of been evolving and moving.
Thank you.
Just two brief questions. The 1770, that's an allocation that's pushed through the county. So all the other townships within the county, this would be a similar proposal for each of their councils to deal with. Am I understanding that correctly?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, so what it is we took the 6 municipalities, took Guelph out of it, and we broke it down by fire station, because some municipalities will have 5 or 6 stations, we have 1, so that was the cost per station in each municipality.
And is this reviewable after a year to say, did this work, or can we evolve it, or maybe just explain a bit how that, like, this would be an ongoing budget line item, presumably based on what I'm reading?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, so at the end of every year, we will get together with Hamilton Health Services as a group of chiefs, we'll review all the data. We will look at the medical calls that we're going to see if it's working, and it can be reviewed. I believe this first contract will be for 2 years with them. So we'll review it at year 1, then at year 2, and go from there.
It's helpful. Thanks.
So everybody supportive of that one?
Yep.
So those are the 2 in that first graph, 5, sorry. And now I want to move down to page 4 of Mary's report, and speaks to the phasing in of the Cambridge Fire Protection costs goal of 50%, and there's
Oh, yeah.
3 options here. Yes. Because the first one, the decision's been made, right, the cost of living. The 114K, that's in. So I'm scrolling to the next one that requires a decision.
Well, Mr. Mayor, the 47.8K requires the city staff are recommending that be taken out.
Community coordinator.
So, I would support, taking that out of our budget.
Can you speak to our December meeting and what may be coming forward?
Yes, so through Mr. Chair, staff are preparing a report, for council around, our site alteration bylaw, and just to give council a report back on how that's been working over the course of this year since it was adopted. Part of that report is going to also discuss, the other impacts of some regulatory bylaws that we have put in place over the last little while. And the impact on resources and how we want to be more effective in what we're doing through bylaw enforcement. So part of what we're looking at for that is, we have significant recoveries through our bylaw cost center, through permits and licenses, fines, all sorts of things that are recoveries. And we want to present to council a business case around adding an additional bylaw officer to be primarily funded through recoveries that we see through that cost center, and the potential to actually increase our service level in the township from what it is today, knowing that we are bringing on a regulatory bylaw potentially in the new year around the discharge of firearms at our gun club, and there'll be increased resources needed for that. So yes, there is a suggestion in this report to bring the overall levy impact down by removing this allocation. And what staff are just requesting at this time is if it could just remain as a placeholder until we have that report in December and council can make a decision. It's not necessarily being allocated towards the committee coordinator position through the recommendation in December, but just as a placeholder for now.
Well, you were saying that most of the cost would be, covered through, fees and all that sort of thing.
So through Mr. Chair, we are hoping to be able to demonstrate, once we've gotten, the data from this last year collected, that the majority will be. But I don't want to presume what that will be exactly without running those numbers.
Okay. All right.
We can just defer that until this, the December meeting, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay, and, perhaps just we categorize that as a additional bylaw.
Sorry,
We categorize that instead of a committee coordinator, additional bylaw.
can you do that? Okay, discussion, just so for, if there's any questions for the CAO on that one? Okay. So, yes, so back to the option 1, 2, or 3 for phasing in the costs of Cambridge Fire Service contract, and we have the 3 options there in front of us. I don't know, you guys have your thoughts on it? I have mine, I'll wait till the end. Councilor Goyette?
My initial, thought was I do believe that we should follow through on our previous commitment of phasing in 50%. I mean, we've already extended the time to do that. I think that at least fulfilling the commitment in terms of the percentage, I think we should stand behind what we decided. I guess the discussion now we've just had about the 47 staying in there makes that more challenging to do. But it is my understanding that this 17,937 that is being outlined in option number 3 includes the 5,700 that's already included in the budget. So it's actually an additional 12,237. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Anyway, that's where my head is at, that we should go with option number 3.
Okay, suppose.
Given the fact that we're gonna have the fire master plan coming into play next year, I'm okay with leaving it at 5.7 for now until we get the results of the fire master plan that may affect or may not affect how we move forward.
Bailey?
Well, this isn't gonna help you, but I was gonna go with option 2. I didn't realize the 57 was coming off option 3, but I do, like Councilor Goyette has said, I feel like we need to be fulfilling our decision that we've made. I think 2034 is too far away, and I was thinking 17 was too much, so I was going with option 2.
Councilor Hurst?
Yeah, I think, Councilor Goyette probably shared my sentiment on this one. I think if it's a commitment made, then I think we endeavor to achieve that by 2027. Although I think, Councilor Saposa's point around a new fire master plan coming in, I'd say my 2 comments would be to stick with that 2027 50% commitment, and if at some point in 2025, when we go through the fire master plan, if that for whatever degree changes, then we address it at that point. But to me, the North Star is to maintain that 50% commitment.
So we're gonna be very divided here. I was very supportive of the 50% when we had much lower costs, and as these costs continue to increase, this is a service that a certain group of residents receive that's different than the balance of us. And with the fire master plan coming, and we're gonna be reviewing our service levels and the continued increase, I have trouble supporting the 50% mark at such a short time frame, because as those costs go. So we have, one of us is gonna have to flip. we have two for option three, which was Counselor Hurst and Counselor Goida, right? And so if, go ahead.
Sorry, a question for Mary then, is the 10,375? Will 5,700 come out of that?
Yep.
Does it include?
So basically, the phase-in of the further BBI increase would need to change from the 5,705 to 10,375 under that option.
So what's that difference?
$5,305, or no, I don't know, the math's wrong.
That's a happy medium.
So for today's interests, I'm gonna flip to option three, which is, that'll add 12,000 to the budget. Shoot, we
I
got,
would support option two.
Did you say 2 or 3?
I would support option two since Councilor Spillis jumped, that gives us 3 at option two. It's a 5,000 increase.
So I think I could flip to option 2 as well, knowing, like we said, we have the fire master plan coming next year. There's likely going to be increased costs that are gonna come out of that, so, whatever number we go with this year will be less of an increase next year, I guess, but
When the contract's going up again, well, that 40% number is gonna go up.
I think option 2 is a happy medium, and if things change and come out of that master plan that are different, then we can always change it back to 50%.
Okay, so option two for budgetary purposes. What are we doing with the water study?
I think it's out.
Out, push it to next year.
I'm out as well.
Are we did ask though for staff report on the usage of all that data and stuff. Is that still coming at some point?
Okay, Mr. Chair, you asked us to reach out to our hydrogeologist and just inquire about the value of this, value of contributing financially versus what we're already receiving through income.
And has that feedback been received?
I don't know if we've heard back at this point.
Not yet.
All right, the next one, I had a question of this to the CAO and then I saw it come through with the counselor questions, and it's page 5 of your report, Ms. Hassan. I'm not understanding the bullet that starts with supplemental taxation billings decrease of 175K. End of the day, I need to know what this bullet means to our budget.
So as you may recall, last year, we budgeted 200,000 for supplemental taxes specifically related to the gravel pit adjustments.
Yeah.
So that amount has been removed in 2025 because the majority of those adjustments will have been processed in 2024. But although we budgeted that supplemental taxation in 2024, we also budgeted that supplemental taxation, because it was one time, it would be contributed into the administrative studies discretionary reserve, which it has. So budget-wise, it's just this line item is showing as 175,000 less, and it relates to the gravel pit adjustments of 200,000, but we've also increased it by 25,000 based on a yearly average of what we've processed for supplemental taxations, excluding gravel pit adjustments.
So are you saying from now until in perpetuity, the supplemental taxes received, whatever the number is, I know we have a reduction because of the MOF decision on the tax class, is going to be contributing to the administrative studies reserve versus?
No, that was just a one-time item in 2024 because those that supplemental taxation related to the years 2017 to 2023. But in perpetuity, that growth is just being rolled into our calculations for the budget as a whole. Yeah, so that's not being done on a year-over-year basis because that is all one time.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else need any clarification on that? All good? Okay. Just reading the note. I want to say it, so I'm just-
We need to
There's no direction on that one, is there?
form tree, like,
I'm getting there. I think. Did I skip it?
I think it was right after the Morwick.
Did I? I'm sorry. Okay, I thought that was already in the budget.
Yeah.
But didn't we, when we approved the report of where we're gonna plant the trees, didn't that already say we're going forward?
Stakes and wiring. It's related to like protecting the trees with
So 3K?
yes.
Okay, I assume because we approved that plan of planting that this was already in, but, so. Anybody have any concerns with the 3K for the Forum Park Tree Planting Initiative? The stakes and wiring? You do speak now.
Nope. Can't find.
It's on page 4 for report.
Four, okay, back up. Oh, yeah, I see it.
But all this was incorporated in what she proposes, the operating budget, right? So I guess,
It's just putting it all together for council to see sort of what each item is and what the impact is. So there's still opportunities to tweak.
I just find it confusing that if some say we need direction and other ones, it doesn't indicate that you need direction, it's just there. So which one is it? Do we need direction on all these or are they already approved? You received your direction, so.
So the purpose of these sections is just explaining how the budget has changed from 2024 to 2025. I think we've seek council direction on what we needed to seek direction on, unless anyone else wants any tweaks or any updates made. But a lot of these items are included in the base budget. It's based on unavoidable changes that occurred this year, such as hydro costs increasing or decreasing. I've just incorporated it in 3 different sections so that council understands where we're seeing the changes from the 2024 budget.
So any actual decision or direction that need to be given has been given. There's plenty of items here. The only one that I have another note on, what I'll do is query each member to see if they have items of concern. Mine was the 5K for the integrity commissioner. We had a difficult integrity commissioner investigation this year that drove costs up. And I thought this 5K of council, and that comes with risk, the council were wanting to find small savings, is that we could remove this 5K and just understand that if we end up with integrity commissioner complaints in 25, they could be absorbed through the surplus or a reserve or something like that. So if you really want to find a 5K savings and take calculated risk, that's one there. So I'm fine leaving it in, but that was just one of the notes I made.
Yeah, I would be fine with that. I guess, yeah, I would be fine with that. I would be kind of curious to know prior to last year, what the actuals were for that. So that
And
we're not eliminating it all together. Like, was this whole 5,000 that one item, or was it?
this is in addition to our previously budgeted amounts. Is that correct, Mary?
It's an
So-
increase from what we previously budgeted.
Okay, so this was just based on last year. Everything prior to that would have been adequately covered within the operating budget as it already without that amount in.
Well, I can double check that just to be sure.
When you say you're fine with it, I kind of spit 2 things out. I said we could leave it in or take it
I'm
out.
fine with taking it out as long as we're covered for
Like 2 years ago.
regular things that we would need the integrity.
And just recognizing that if we end up with
Yeah,
a big investigation, it'll
Yes.
have to be funded through reserves or somewhere surplus, something along those nature. I suppose.
Yeah, I'm fine with taking it out. We've already added 5 because of the fire payment. So this takes it all the way down to 47.8 now still. Oh,
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Out of curiosity, Mary, what is the contribution, the regular contribution?
Yeah, I'm just looking at that right now. So last year, the amount was 10,000 that was budgeted.
Yeah, I'm fine with taking it out.
As am I.
Yeah, and it was about, our actuals were about 12,000 last year, so.
And what was, 22 actuals?
Sorry, 1 second.
Don't do well.
There may be some in 2022, if I remember, there was a lot of training that took place with the new integrity commissioner, so that might be something just to take into account that would be different than a.
Anyways, I think we're on board. We'll remove it for now. There
Okay.
is some risks, but. I believe that's all of them. My last note here is the levy increases of 627, 770. I don't know if there's any desire that post 25, those monies, somewhere we've done this previous discussions, a lot those to asset management plan funding versus being absorbed into the 26 operating budget. I recognize that a bit of it, do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, I'm just trying.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom, I'm on page 7 of her report. The last 2 items, we've already technically approved them, the director's cell phone and the Hamilton Ice Science medical oversight. Oh, we can't, does that have, never mind, because the medical oversight has to stay in the operating budget for that costing going forward. Just trying to find money for your asset management plan graphs, Mary, that's all I'm trying to do.
Thanks.
Never mind, I'm backpedaling. Okay, so council members, any items in there that were tentatively approved that you wanted to have further discussions on? Or you have some notes, you need some clarification? Give me a moment. Councilor Goya? I can come back to you.
I do have one question about the very last item, which is one-time costs associated with salaries and benefits due to staff vacancies.
So it's like 63,000 or something.
63,000, and I think I'm understanding this incorrectly, because when I think about a staff vacancy, to me, that is savings. Like, while that position is vacant, there should be savings. So I guess I just don't understand what this cost is.
Sorry, which page is that on in the report?
I think-
7 of 15.
The CAO is going to answer the counselor.
So through you, Mr. Chair, that relates to a leave of absence and costs paid
Oh, okay,
as a.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, this is sort of the flip side. There's a cost in here that we have to pay increased costs for ambulance dispatch costs, is $6,000. I don't have a problem with this, but I do have a problem with the flip side. If you go to page 290, there's a listing of various revenues we get from outside agencies, and it's flat compared to 2024. In other words, everybody's charging us an extra 3% or whatever the case is, and we're not getting the benefit on the flip side. Like, for instance, there's an item here from Junction Railway, you know, it's still the same amount. Like, there's about $100,000 worth of revenues we get, and they're basically the same as 2024.
So they're not adjusting for inflation. as
Exactly,
everybody else.
so, yeah, whereas we have to adjust constantly for them billing us adjustment probation. I was wondering if there's a way of getting after these people and say, look, what gives here? Like, it
Oh.
ranges from the,
Sorry.
Wellington County, University of Guelph, CNCP, Hydro One, Metrolinx. There's quite a myriad of individuals there.
So I can just speak to that. So yeah, Courtney, that is the correct page. So that relates to payments in lieu of taxes that the township receives, and it's based on the assessment value prepared by MPAC. And as we all know, the assessment values haven't changed since 2016, and so that's why those amounts have not changed. But once MPAC has the go from the province to reassess all of properties in Ontario, I'm hopeful that those amounts can increase based on recent assessment values.
Well, this is all impact. Okay, I'll back off. No, I can't do them both. I don't have any other issues.
Okay, Councilor Bailey?
No, I think I'm okay. Sorry, I don't know. No. Oversight. I think there was a note about why the part-time wages are difficult to quantify. But I think it's the building department. It says building related adjustments.
Oh, so I think that was the Ontario minimum wage increase, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's difficult to quantify that amount, but I've just indicated that a portion of the wage increases relate to the increase in the Ontario minimum wage.
okay, so that's for the part-time staff then, obviously, and not knowing the hours, is that right?
Yeah, so it's a few staff. It hasn't been quantified in this. It just takes some time. So I just wanted council to be aware that and the public that we are mandated through external legislation, and so the increase in the minimum wage has increased. So that's going to impact our salaries and benefits.
Well, and to be fair, we reduced the part-time hours, so it's tough to quantify until you get maybe a year under your belt of how many hours they're working. With the full-time staff are being there for the afternoons, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there are different factors associated with why it's difficult to quantify. I can look to see if I can quantify that in the future, though.
So Mrs. Ann, have we given you the direction that you required?
Yeah, so I think so. Courtney, do you have anything that you can think of? I just think based on the report, I can kind of explain where we're looking at for tax levy purposes, if you'd like, based on the information, the decisions that were made today.
Yes, I'm just, Miss Whitebox just gonna share screen.
So through Mr. Chair, the recommendation out of the report has not changed. For this first sort of section, there was no changes made to the numbers in the tables that were presented. And then there's been a few additions. So the additions based on council's consensus, is that council directs staff to recategorize the 47K allocation or placeholder to a future, from the future committee coordinator position to an additional bylaw officer position. And again, this is still tentative and we'll report to you in December. That council directs staff to phase in a future BBI increase of 10,375 each year until 40% of the contract is achieved. And I'll just clarify that's related to the Cambridge Fire Service Agreement. And the council directs staff to remove the 10K allocation for the Morwick G360 Groundwater Research Institute. And the council directs staff, it'll be to remove the 5K allocation for increased integrity commissioner costs.
Anything you want to add, Mrs. Sand?
So I'm just looking at my numbers quickly. Give me one moment.
I'll get a number for that when we're conscious there. Councilor Spillis, Councilor first. Any final comments from this thing gives us a general idea?
Nope, sorry.
Yeah, I guess we'll see the final, numbers at the next meeting, so it's not fair to ask staff what the blended rate would be at this time until we know what the final effect is of the temporary or the, bylaws.
Oh, it'll be without, it'll be without a bylaw officer, because we haven't seen that report, but we can likely get a blended rate for today without that position. The 47 will be in.
It'll be between the two numbers was given our notes, so.
Just,
I'd like to hear, Councilor Bailey, go ahead.
just the placeholder of 47, that's for a part-time position currently.
So through Mr. Chair, the way it was that there was 0.5 of an FTE in 1 year and 0.5 of an FTE in the next. So that 47K would represent 0.5.
Yeah.
I think that based on the recoveries in the bylaw department, we're probably looking at reducing that further.
Okay, yeah, okay.
But the position will be a full-time
Full-time, that's,
FTE.
yeah, so potentially could be double that, except for the
With
recovery.
the recoveries would offset, yeah.
Once the report is penned, the hope is that the recoveries will only need a slight percentage of that 47 to make up the full amount.
Right.
So we're just leaving it in there as a placeholder for now. Okay. Councilors? Okay. Mary, did you get some numbers crunched for us?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to be sure that my numbers are correct before I.
Blame. Sure.
So, so far, based on the decisions made today,
You know what, Mrs. Sand, I think it's best we just wait until we see the report in December of the bylaw officer. Potentially, so I think we'll just leave it there. And, because it's not indicative of, it might not be the number.
Very
So I don't wanna put numbers out there that might not be accurate, so. Maybe just, you saw what, Courtney captured in the resolution. Everything's clear. I haven't forgotten to bring anything up that you need direction on off the top of your head.
no, I think we're good. Great. Thank you very much.
So do we need to reread? We don't need to reread that resolution.
I have it on the screen.
Okay, so,
Sorry about that.
sorry, we had a mover and a seconder, right? Okay, all in favor? Oh, sorry, we did have a mover and a second. Councilor Bailey, Councilor Schools.
Thank you.
Sorry, I thought we did too.
That we did too.
All in favor? That's carried.
Sorry, fuck you.
It's all good.
All right, so that's that one, that's that one. We're a little early. What time? We said 1 o'clock for Jesse. Did you get confirmation that he's good for 1 o'clock? What do we have that we can do? 9.31? Is that was,
That's the
do that?
compensation. It fits in with the budget
Yeah,
discussions too.
let's do it.
What number?
Do we want to do that, the council compensation?
Do the presentation.
Yes. Which is the policy.
Okay, go ahead. 9.3.1.
So through Mr. Chair, this report is being brought forward to council just because it's quite timely with some of the items that we discussed on the agenda today. It is regarding the council compensation benefits and expense policy. As noted in the report, it's recommended to be reviewed every 5 years or so. What staff is recommending is that be changed slightly to be reviewed at the time of the compensation review. So in the second year of each term, just to make sure those processes are aligned. There's a number of minor changes throughout the policy that staff are recommending. One being the sections around remuneration, the compensation inclusive of the 3% COLA for 2025. We're also looking to amend the eligibility to allow all members of council to participate in the township's benefits program. And then again, this has already been addressed through the report that we just approved around the operating budget, and that's the adjustment to the mileage reimbursement rate and just aligning that with Canada Revenue Agency per kilometer rates, and giving our Director of Finance Treasurer the delegated authority to make those changes again for recoveries. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and if there's any further amendments that council are suggesting to this policy, staff intend to record those and bring back the policy and bylaw in December for approval.
Can you read the recommendation, please?
Yes. That report EDM 2024-062 regarding council compensation benefits and expense policy be received, and the council directs staff to prepare a bylaw to adopt the council committees and other appointments, compensations, benefit and expense policy either as presented or amended at the December 18th, 2024 council meeting, and to repeal bylaw 58-2020.
All right, you're gonna move for that, please. Suppose, Councilor Goida, discussion, Councilor Goida.
Okay.
I'm good.
I did have a couple questions. Just for clarification, so, under 1.1, I think it's the first budget or first bullet. So the question is regarding the committee chair. So since all of our committee meetings currently have council members as the chair, I guess there's no payment to the chair. So I'm just not sure whether that still needs to be in there or not. And then I'm also wondering how this would apply to the youth committee.
So for you, Mr. Chair, what I would suggest is if there was ever a situation where our chair was absent and somebody from the committee had to step in and fill that duty for that night, it would be good to be able to compensate them. And our youth committee at this time is not compensated, and I believe that's in their TOR, so this would not apply to that.
Yeah, because I don't think that's reasonable to be paying them to step in to do that. Okay, thank you. The other question I had, I think it's the third bullet. Just wondering what per call compensation means, and what other appointments as well, what that means, and if they're listed somewhere.
So through Mr. Chair, the other appointments and that compensation amount is in reference to our fence viewers, our livestock valuer, and what they would be paid on a per call basis.
I guess I was just wondering personally where Safe Communities fits in to this kind of meeting as a co-chair. I'm not just attending the meetings, but I'm going and actually running. So I didn't know if that is where a per call would come into.
So through you, Mr. Chair, it is an option for council. I know that our presentation from our consultant, Marianne Love, just noted that council doesn't receive compensation for per meeting attendance, but does not receive compensation for chairing meetings. However, it really is within your purview to decide if there's appropriate compensation for sort of other meetings that council attends outside of the advisory committees that you're each appointed to.
So maybe it's, I mean, from my perspective, attending a meeting, I don't think there should be any compensation for attending a meeting, but maybe if you're chairing something, that gives you, you know, more responsibility and more, I don't know, more time away. So I don't know if council has any thoughts on that bullet.
I could support looking at it at the next review. Staff can kind of keep a pulse on it and see the implications, and, you know, that'll be 4 years from now, but, I don't know, what are your?
So through Mr. Chair, we do have there are a number of external committees that our members of council do sit on. And if we all recall, at the beginning of the term, we nominated members to sit on those. So I believe those are the types of responsibilities that we're looking at that are outside of sort of the appointments to our advisory committees, and staff can report back on that and just maybe get an understanding of how many other obligations are council committing to outside of the council commitment in our advisory committees.
Okay, that's good. And then my last question was more about the benefit package for the mayor. My understanding is that he currently gets one through the county. So now we're also saying that the mayor can opt into the township benefit package, and I'm just wondering if there's a need to have both, or if maybe the wording should be, picks one or the other to be reasonable coverage. Like, is the county one not sufficient enough, or is there a change at the county level that this has been brought in?
I think it should be up to the individual to make that option to opt in or opt out. It's an equity thing, equality thing. So it shouldn't be thou shall not participate. You don't know each person's individual circumstances, and that's why when approached the CAO, it's what's the term? It's like, is it
So-
equality or?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do try to make sure that our policies are equitable to whether it's staff or membership. And so just the wording around excluding or like excluding certain members, we're just trying to get away from that.
So
It's essentially enhancing the service if you're getting two different benefit packages, which is not equitable to the rest of council.
well, if you want to do two jobs, you can have two
Well.
benefit packages too, but initially this was an option by the mayor to decline. So you could choose to have both, and somehow it got into the policy as thou shall not. And in the interest of being equitable to everyone, it should be up to the individual to opt in or opt out.
Okay.
That's
So that's
just,
how it's worded in policy, opt in or opt out.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the wording right now is, it says benefits which are applicable to members of council, including the mayor, township councilors, and the mayor shall be entitled to receive the following benefits, but it always is an opt-in.
Okay.
opt-out. Yeah.
Okay, so shall, yeah.
And then, sorry, 2.2, Mr. Chair, it does further say the mayor may opt to receive coverage by the County of Wellington's benefit program, may opt to.
further?
I just had a last question. If we were looking at a phase-in approach at doing this, does staff have any recommendations on what that might look like?
So through Mr. Chair, is that related to the, like the actual, annual compensation?
Yeah.
So I do believe that council approved the compensation as presented through, Marianne Love's presentation. But in general, there are municipalities just based on budget pressures, that there have been municipalities that, let's say they were looking to go to a higher percentile. They've phased in those percentiles over a number of years. If there's significant impacts, I think that in this case, the impacts are relatively modest. So it is likely not something to feel a big pressure on in terms of having to phase it in.
Thanks.
Councilor Hurst?
Yeah, three just very, very brief question, or maybe the first one, just in terms of the committee, maybe like a friendly amendment to this would be committee chair or acting chair. Just to articulate, just when I was hearing the prior discussion, that might better reflect the circumstance that we find ourselves in. Within the report, I didn't see it, and correct me if I misinterpret this or misread it, but at the committee level, that those bumps hadn't been benchmarked similar to how the mayor and the councillor rules. Did I miss something there? The recommendations that you're making are based on COLA bumps as opposed to the recommendation coming out of the attached report. Am I following that correctly?
So if you, Mr. Chair, Director of Finance might like to just make sure what I'm saying is accurate, but COLA has been included into the amounts, the final amounts that you're seeing in this policy. So that's inclusive of COLA. And I believe certainly inclusive of the compensation review for mayor and council. In terms of the per meeting compensation, I just want to double check with our director. that those numbers were also reviewed during the compensation review, or is the change we're noting just
So the change we're noting for the per meeting compensation for committees, there was no recommendations regarding that, as part of the compensation review, and so those are just the COLA adjustments from, over the years.
Thanks, that helps. I wasn't sure if I missed something in the report based on that, so as long as it's defendable, I think is fine. And then maybe my only other question, and again, I don't want to get into the hairy details of this, and maybe just my knowledge level is light on this, because I opt out of benefits, so I haven't had the experience with the township, but if I understand if in this case, the mayor or councilors get benefits through the municipal program, that's a cost incurred by the municipality, but if you participate, as the mayor had noted, potentially you're opting in to participate in the county one, is that the cost to the county, or is that back billed to the municipality? I'm just curious for transparency reasons. Yeah, I think the eligibility, no questions whatsoever. I just was trying to follow the money.
It's at the county.
Okay, so that's a cost to the county. Okay, yeah. No, I'm good with it. I think this is evolving and it's positive. I think it was more just some technical pieces. Thanks.
Sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think Councilor Hurst makes a good point. The citizens who are participating in all this committee, I think, I'd like to suggest that as part of the review in 4 years, that we review that as well, participation by the residents on these various committees, make it comparable to everywhere else.
In terms of remuneration and.
Yeah, in terms of the participation per meeting, like I heard was that if you keep increasing it based on a COLA cost.
We haven't
I don't-
checked it.
You haven't checked it, that's comparable to other organizations.
And I think that's fair, because then it'll be a new term of council, and maybe it's the same people returning, maybe not, but everybody will be signing up for X, and then it'll be, or I guess it'll be the second year, but anyways.
So through Mr. Chair, I recall from the compensation review, we're one of the only municipalities that compensates our citizen members. Which we're very progressive. That's what we've heard through our clerks meetings. So not a lot of comparator data because most do not get compensated.
Uh-oh.
So with that said, it's, a lot of municipalities struggle having folks attend because it is purely volunteer, where I think the townships had very good interest and participation on their committees.
If we can look at it 4 years from now, that's fine, whether or not it might be or might not be.
I don't know if this is the appropriate spot to bring this up, but the details of the benefit plan, I know that the county has amalgamated certain coverages. So say certain paramedical, you're only entitled to X amount of dollars. They've said, well, in total, these services, because in the interest of employees, when they get injured or need, physiotherapy, chiro, the max, like the total money spent doesn't change. Right? But it's like you could use it all at, physio, or you could use it all at chiropractor, depending on what health need. Is that something the staff look at when when this is looked at, or is that something else?
So through Mr. Chair, we can we have some direction to look at our group benefits going forward. And so we can certainly investigate if there's options around sort of like you've indicated, just there's a allocation of funds versus in general versus allocated to different medical services. So we can look at that when we look at the benefits review.
I think that's all I had. So maybe move for a second for that.
We do, and through Mr. Chair, I've just amended the resolution slightly to include the wording in section 1.1 to committee chair or acting chair to just clarify that folks in an acting position would be eligible for that compensation. And I've added that council direct staff to report back on council member external committee appointments to determine if a per meeting compensation amount should be provided.
Okay, move for that, please. I suppose, Councilor Goyda, any last comments? All in favor? Scary. I suggest we break now, come back at 12:50 and just get organized for when Jesse comes in. 12:50, 12:55.
We'll break at 12:17, and then for anyone online, we'll be coming back at 10 to 1. Let's see.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We will deal with 10.2 next on our agenda. And is Jesse joining us?
Yes, I'm just going to move Jesse over to a panelist here. So Jesse, you'll see a prompt to join the meeting.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Jesse.
Just want to, okay, so, yeah, did you want me to give just an overview of the correspondence?
Not all of them, your report, and then, if you can give an overview on the three options and your perspective on them, and then we'll enter into discussion.
Okay, so, so just a brief overview, the County of Wellington, they're reviewing their official plan and they've conducted rural residential growth analysis. In brief, the township of Portland requires 600 new dwelling units by 2051 to reach its required forecast. Presently, the township has a supply that can be accommodated of up to 350 units. That includes the potential for vacant units in secondary urban areas, hamlets, and other rural residential areas, as well as existing vacant rural lots and potential supply from rural severances. So essentially, the county has been looking into various options to meet this needs. So they've been looking into rural settlement area expansions, allowing for new country residential areas, and their secondary agricultural area lot creation, as well as rural clusters. When I was reviewing what's been, so I've been asked to provide comment on on their proposal, and there were a few options that I've also identified. One is to allow, so one is that the county official plan presently allows for the creation of one lot from a rural parcel as it existed on March 1st, 2005. So there is the opportunity to reset that date. Resetting that date would be consistent with provincial policy. With the previous growth plan, the county official plan did have more restrictive policies. So the previous growth plan would have actually allowed for the creation of 3 new lots. That being said, that the growth plan is no longer in force and in effect. So the county has options to allow to determine what's an appropriate amount of rural residential lot creation on rural lands. So I've looked into some options that have been found in some municipalities. One option is to increase the number of residential lots on rural lands to 3 from each property. Another option is to also allow for the creation of rural residential lots based on the parcel size. I've provided an example that the municipality of Meaford has implemented in their official plan. So for example, a lot that's 1 hectare in size a lot that's 20 hectares in size allows for 1 rural residential lot. And then if it's larger, for example, 40, it's 3, 60 is 4, 80 is 5. So there's a few options to consider.
All right. Okay, council, so we have three options in front of us for this, for the rural growth, and I guess I'll just go around the table at least once here and get a feeling for where everybody's falling. So Councilor, go ahead.
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. So with option number one, which talks about resetting the rural residential severance date to a more recent date, I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are or what things we should consider in terms of what that date should be or eliminating that date altogether. How would those two things effectively impact the plan?
So in terms of the number of lots that can be created, I don't have that, I don't know. I don't have that information. But, the township the county does have the option to, reset the date to a more, recent date, which means that, the existing, parcels that have already, where one lot was created, they would be allowed another lot. And the county has the option to choose whichever date they deem to be appropriate. The county has been tracking their own rural severances.
Okay, and I'm not sure if you did this as part of your analysis, but in option number 3, which talks about looking at the potential number of severances permitted based on the original lot size. And so that would be, you have this chart here. I'm not sure if this is a recommendation or something that you saw in Meaford, but it looks at, a 20 hectare parcel of land being permitted 1 and 40 hectare 3 and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm wondering if, I don't know if you did this analysis, but how many properties would be 20 hectares is about 50 acres. So do we have a significant amount of properties in the township of 50 acres or more that would potentially be suited for that?
I haven't done that analysis in terms of the number of parcels. But the option would, I think the option wouldn't be that it to give a specific number, but I think what you would, this is one example, but the option would be more to to allow for lot creation and the number of residential lots based on the parcel size.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And then one more question. One of the current requirements of severance, in addition to the date and whether you've had one in the past, et cetera, is the lot size. And the requirement currently is that the lot is 0.4 hectares minimum in size. And this is a question that I just am curious about, but I guess my understanding is that the rationale for having that minimum lot size is to accommodate the septic and the distance between property next door to the septic. My question is, residential septic systems have come a long way in terms of their technology and their efficiency and their ability to operate in smaller sizes. And I'm wondering if looking at asking for that minimum size to be reduced to a smaller size makes sense and would have any impact on our ability to create additional lot severances.
I think so that is more so a requirement in the zoning bylaw. I think that a lot more analysis would have to be done if we are going to be proposing smaller lot sizes. Several municipalities have implemented a 1 acre 0.4 hectare requirement, either through their official plans and or their zoning bylaws. I would probably want to involve, I would probably have the hydrogeologist comment on that if we were going to be going with lower, less than 0.4 hectares.
That's fair. Okay.
Mr. Spose?
Just a question for staff. The increase in number of permitted lots to 3, like how would you, what sort of parameters would you put on? Is this 3 forever and a day? Or is it 3 within a certain time period? Or is it one every 5 years type of thing to a maximum of 3? Like what would that scenario look like?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I think the way that item 2 has been outlined in the report is that it's three lots. And I'm assuming that that's up until there's another review that might change those parameters. But I think it is good to clarify that it's 3 lots for, if we're looking at the retained versus the severed, it's 3 lots for the retained. And I hope that our consultant would correct me if I'm wrong. But then when you created a new parcel, the rules apply to that new parcel that's been created. So that new parcel would then also have the ability, subject to all other requirements being met, to potentially have 3 lots.
The way that it's been interpreted, is that you take that larger parcel and you're allowed those 3 lots that are for residential purposes. The way that the policy was never intended that those 3 lots get broken up again. It was intended to be, it was intended to be 3 lots and then you're done. But
Okay, so
that being said, the growth plan never had a date. So it just said multiple lots for, when the growth plan was in effect, it no longer is. It never had a date that you can't apply for another 3 lots in the future.
So my proposal is to keep it simple. And I like the first one that we set a new date, it's 2025. And we review it every 5 years or so, ask for review every 5 years so that you progressing. Whereas option 3 is you're gonna require a study and I don't think we want to get into that. I think we want to keep it simple for our residents, that's easy to understand. So I will eliminate 3. 2, the way I understand is you're gonna allow a person to have three sums at one time. And I don't know, I think that's encourages a lot of speculative purchases from individuals to buy properties and then make the money on it. 5 years sitting on the property isn't that long a time. Whereas with the first one, it's basically you're a resident, you want to have some extra cash, whatever the case may be. Go in there, you do your severance. Okay, 5 years from now, review it again. Maybe we've met our target, or maybe we haven't. Carry on and ask for another update. This is all in the absence of us not having an official plan, but this is my suggestion or request of the county.
Okay. Mr. Bailey?
Thank you. Yeah, I think I had some questions more around the, so increasing the number of permitted lots, the second option. But introducing lot size, because I'm having a hard time understanding. There must be a minimum lot size in order to have 3 severances on it. And I'm not clear what that number is. I guess you can work the math backwards. If you have a minimum lot size times 4, that would be your
0.6 hectares.
You know, you'd have to do that. Anyway, I'm not seeing kind of what those numbers in there. Can you speak to trying to combine option 3 and 2?
Yeah, I think that's I think that is an option as well. Sorry, with respect to minimum lots, I want to speak first to the minimum lot size and the septic component because I did have another thought on that. So I know that this is more the county's comprehensive review. So I think if you want to comment with respect to, I think if you would like to comment with respect to lot size, since this is more the county's process, I would suggest that the county investigates the possibility of providing for smaller lot sizes. Considering and investigate how septic systems would be impacted, or if existing septic systems can be accommodated on smaller lot sizes, because this is more the county's process than the local process, right? And then they could do that work. So in terms of combining options 1 and 2, there, I don't think that these options were meant to be these options were not meant to be mutually exclusive. So you can combine options 1 and 2, or option 1 and 3. They both would work.
Okay. And I guess just my other comment is, and it kind of touches on Councillor Sakoulis's comment on the speculative. So people coming in and buying up farmland, severing it, and then, you know, not farming the rest of the property, but having these severances in. So first of all, it's kind of encouraging rapid growth all at once that perhaps our municipality can't manage and handle with the current services that we have. So whatever approach we're using, I've got my notes here somewhere, but I think it should be more of a gradual, intentional growth process that can support the services that the municipality sort of currently has, so that we're not bombarded with unreasonable expectations about traffic and demands, about things that a lot of comments we're getting from the public where I don't think it's reasonable expectations. We're not a city, we're still a rural municipality, and so just having that reasonable balance with the growth. So whether that's doing a review every 5 years and allowing only 1 severance, you know, slowing down that growth instead of just saying, bam, here's a farm and we're gonna have quick 3 severances all at once on multiple lands. So that's just my thoughts there.
Councillor Hurst?
Yeah, thanks for this, Jesse. Yeah, me, 3 quick thoughts from my perspective. Yeah, we have farms to grow crops and livestock, not houses. I think is kind of my one thought here, is really very much a preference to preserve farmland. I think Councillor Sakoulis's comment about option number 1, I think is generally where my head's at. You know, strategic growth, allowing for severances, but very much not a huge amount instantaneously. I think getting away from that speculation. And I think the other piece, I still see a great deal of merit around prioritizing growth around our hamlets within the township, you know, specifically the ones you noted in the report, which I think is just a strategic way of doing this. You know, I think we are a rural municipality, and you know, if we can foster growth in our hamlets, I think that would be my preference in terms of priority setting, but also allowing the severance of rural lots, but in a very conservative, non-political nature, but just a conservative way of approaching that, but also flexibility for people that want to do that. I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think having it as a right to have 3 lots would be problematic. I'm in favor of number 1, not just adjusting the date, but removing it entirely. And I believe, Jesse, you penned a report or a statement in a report that policy component of that date was no longer required. I think that if you get a severance and that severed parcel would then be entitled to 1, all of those things are going to take time. It's not going to be as quick as if they bring in and people buy a property, and then bring in this application for 3, and then the next application is for 3 more. But I would caution council on putting any wait on a review in 5 years. The county holds the cards at making that date, at moving it, and it's been very difficult to get that date even considered to be removed or adjusted. So in 5 years, you'd likely not see any movement. So I would advise to request for it to be removed entirely. And then the lot size, I feel that we could maybe have a maximum of that 1 acre lot, because we tend to run into illegal land uses. If we allow 1 lot and people take off 10 acres, then it promotes more than what our home industry bylaw permits. So I would want to stick closer to the 0.4 of a hectare. Is that an acre? And that would be the max. I also, and I don't know if this is the right place, if a property is gonna be developed, the parkland dedication fee needs to be paid on both parcels. Or if we adopt a policy of its 3 lot creation, even if it's under 1 application, the fee is applied to 3. I don't feel it's fair to, well, we need it in the municipality, we need to collect those parkland dedication fees, and if you bring in an application for 3, you only pay 1 fee. And we've had some commercial developments that are long standing, and the parkland dedication fee was applied to them. So could that be applied to 60-acre farm that all of a sudden wants a severance, that both parcels have to pay the fee?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the current cash in lieu of parkland, fee is paid at the time of development. So it previously was paid at the time of severance, but now we collect it when the land is actually being developed. So three new lots are created. Each one of those properties are required to pay it to the township when they come in with their building permit. There's no cash in lieu paid to the retained unless they trigger that under the bylaw with development.
Okay, I won't, that's fine, I'm just looking for it. But, so yeah, that's kind of where I land, is removal of date. I would really worry about just moving it, because it's a very tough process to get it adjusted in 5 years. But, so, any thoughts on being closer to number 1 option? Well, let's just discuss about the creation of 3 lots. What's your position on those?
My instinct would be to go with option number 1.
Wouldn't be or would?
Would.
Okay,
So Mayor, I'm trying to understand the logic of removing the date. What does that do for you?
it alleviates a 5-year process to convince the county to change something that the local municipality wants done.
Oh, okay, but if you have a review in 5 years, you may reset it, and a property owner may be able to have a second one in 5 years.
You're banking on the county adhering to the wishes of the local municipality, which may not happen.
Okay, my reasoning for every 5 years was to tie it into the official plan review. There's legislative requirement that they have to review the official plan, reset their numbers, and look at what's happening.
They might have changed the rules on that was the MCR.
Correct if I'm wrong,
It might be better to answer the new timing, if there is a new timing for when official plans have to be reviewed. The frequency.
Sorry, through the chair. So a new official plan doesn't have to be reviewed until, if it's adopted as a new official plan, it's a 10-year requirement. If it's a review, if there was a comprehensive review of an existing official plan, it's a 5-year requirement.
So
this is
along with the 1 severance post 2005, there's still, my understanding, the requirement that you own the property for 5 years. So we still have that kind of brake pedal in the system to prevent speculation where you buy and sell and buy and sell. You're gonna have to buy, own it for 5 years, get a severance. That post 2005 date is very problematic and has been very, very, very challenging to have any movement on. And I'm just thinking for the future, how difficult it was this time, I don't really want to replicate that.
I understand your logic there, Mr. Mayor. I guess I just still can't wrap my head around having no date, because if I go in, say, day after we say no date, I go in for severance. What's to prevent me from going in for another severance?
Technically nothing, other than any of the other constraints.
Okay, what other constraints would you suggest with regard to the no date?
Well, not from our perspective, but driveway access, maybe we have minimum lot size, I don't know, what other, MDS, cluster.
Okay, that's, what that does then is, have some potential for unbridled growth.
It's still up to the landowner to opt in to get these severances. And there's only so many surveyors, only so many.
I understand that still, but I would like to, retain my original position as, move it to 2025 and, have a 5-year review.
Well, we don't decide to review, the county decides.
No, we have our own official time.
I'm just telling you that they are never gonna move that date for 20 years. If we get it moved to 25, just bank on it never moving in our lifetimes, because it's been such a problem. And I'm fine, I'll make a concession, but I'm just telling you,
Okay,
it's not as.
I'll send this to Mayor, if they have to go through a intensive, official time review, that's another opportunity.
I'm gonna go around the table, but the original point of that date was because, growth was a ceiling cap. So the growth projections we have here are not a ceiling cap. They're looked at more as a minimum target. So when we had ceiling caps in the past, that's why they put the severance date in there to keep a lid on growth. So that's what I believe Jesse pointed out, or something, I don't know if you have this old report, it doesn't matter. But anyway, so it sounds like no dice for option three, no dice for option 2. You just want a date move to potentially as current as possible. Perfect. Councilor Goyda, you weren't supportive of 3. Where were you on number 2?
Well, I'm option 1. I'm just trying to wrap my head around removing the date altogether. But I do have a question. So Councilor Sepul has asked the question, what's to stop someone from severing and then severing right away again? But what if we added, like, we're under normal circumstances, you have to own a property for 5 years before you can have a severance. So would there be some way of tying like a 5-year before you can apply again? If you're gonna apply
5
again, you
years.
have to wait five years for a second one. Plus meet all of the other.
I like that.
Because then that kind of brings in your 5-year
Yeah.
review as well but leaves it
And
well, really in the owner's control as opposed to the county's.
I can support that, yeah.
because your scenario, if you have a parcel and you sever off a lot, say they do a big one, I don't know, 10 acres or something, and they sell it. The first thing, the new owners are gonna have to wait 5 years, because they're gonna have to own it for 5 years.
Right.
And what you're applying is the retained parcel, now they receive one consent, they have to wait an additional
Correct,
5 years.
that's what my,
I like it.
that's where my thought is going.
Just a clarification, Mr. Mayor, the severance is only for rural residential, so it'll be only 1 acre out of 10.
Well, I was just trying to make up a number so that if there's a situation where they split a property and then it's large enough, they can get another severance, but
That's
the 1 acre,
Can I just
well, they
also,
can get some farm services in secondary area.
just to your point about a maximum of 1 acre in size, I just wanna maybe give a heads up that may actually. I'm thinking of previous examples, so there's maybe a farm that wants to do a lot severance, but part of that severance has natural heritage features that wouldn't allow for that wouldn't be viable for a residence unless the severance is, let's say, 2 acres to work around the setbacks or the natural heritage. So I just something to think about in terms of making a maximum 1 acre severance, it may restrict some otherwise potentially viable units.
Well, my belief would be that we see it at the planning committee a lot is that, the lot sizes don't conform with the plan, whether they're, which way is it? Yeah, they're usually undersized. And the committee can approve them at the undersized lot. And it has happened the other way as well, that they've applied for a lot severance and they're taking some farmland and we've told them, no, you need to come back with revised, be closer to the maximum, like the. So there is leeway at the committee level for those types of things, but generally you might see in the report, staff don't support the consent because it doesn't meet the, you know, the lot configuration is larger than permitted in the county's official plan. However, due to natural heritage features, following, you know, maybe you're following a river that's as the property line. So I do understand what you're saying. I think there's avenues for people in those situations.
Thank you. I like the discussion that's happening there, but I was gonna ask Jesse, so option one is reset the rural residential severance to a more recent date. And do you have a thought on what date you think would be a good choice?
Possibly the date of adoption of whatever the new county official plan is. That would probably work. I apologize, I would like to correct one point I made. The county official plan also has that minimum lot size requirement, so they do have a 0.4 hectare minimum lot size, so I apologize for that error. But just a quick correction, but a lot of municipalities do set the date at the date of adoption of the new official plan or around that date.
Okay, and then I'm in support of option one. But I'm leaning a little bit towards having a maximum number of severances on, let's say you took, I don't know if we're talking about a secondary ag farm property. I think severing 3 maximum would be reasonable. So I don't know where that comes in, whether that's something just local policy could be, or whether that's something we do at the.
Well, this is
With
the ask,
this?
we'll be asking in the county, but from what I've heard from this side of the table, there's not support for that amount of severances.
Yeah, I wouldn't want more than 3 at least. So I'm wondering if we should be putting in a maximum number of severances from the original lot.
Well, that's what we're trying to attain here. Essentially, we're saying we don't want 3, we want 1.
Yeah.
But then with a cool down period of, as Councilor Goya suggested, 5 years. So it doesn't stagnate the property as much if you remove the date and put as
Yeah.
Councilor Goya. And then it also will prevent, I hope, speculation and this mass explosion of growth. So essentially it's 1.
Yeah.
But it's with the possibility of more if you wait some time.
It's also up to the minimum lot size. So it could sever, then sever, then sever, but once you get to that 0.4 hectares, you can't anymore. Essentially, and it's due to septic. So if technology changes and minimum septic or minimum lot size changes to even smaller, you potentially have another lot severance, but.
Well, in your scenario there, if you think about it, if I have a parcel of land and we have, as Councilor Goya put in a 5-year cool down, it's gonna take you 15, 20 years.
Right.
And then to get those 3 lots versus, you know, 1 application process,
Yeah.
which is too fast, too much.
So I like that, how that's.
So through Mr. Chair, there's also the frontage that plays a big part in this, so reduced lot. So the 1 acre reduced lots, I believe, require 25 meters of frontage, and then our standard non-reduced lots, which are over the 4 hectares, I believe in size, they require 120 approximately. So you're needing to see property has so much frontage, that itself is a limit.
Counselor Hurst?
Great discussion. I think philosophically, I'm there. I think Councilor Goyda made a good point. I like the throttling process. So I'm not saying you can't do this, but there's a stepwise process of the 5-year cooling. I think the sizing and agreement. I think generally I'm supportive of the discussion.
So I think what we gotta hash out is council comfortable with removal of the date? 0.4 of a hectare as a maximum, because what we're trying to do is build houses, not, and if you go smaller lot, in my mind, less impact on farmland. And we're gonna hopefully, prevent land use conflicts. So remove the date for 5-year, after your severance, 5-year cool down is a better term for that. And, maximum size of 0.4 of a hectare. What are your thoughts on those three things?
So through Mr. Chair, my only comment is on, trying to further, control lot size. I do think that our zoning bylaw has a lot of provisions around what lots should be. There's also, as Councilor Gorda pointed out, oftentimes new lot lines have to follow those natural heritage features and make most sense. Our committee, has a lot of input when they look at these severances, and it has come up in the past where somebody's severing a larger lot and there was concerns around that. And the committee makes recommendations related to it. So it is scrutinized quite a bit, whereas putting in extra regulations around it may not be needed.
Yeah, I know, I just find the lot size not being part of the discussion. So you just have to decide if can you get on board with getting rid of the date and just put the 5-year cool down on, or do you need the date in, or?
I'm good with that.
You know, and 5-year cool down?
I'm going with that as well.
Yeah, I would like to know, though, we might need some feedback from the county. We've kind of given them now a formula to work with. Will that get 600 dwellings by 2051?
Or-
Or is there something more we need to be doing?
Jesse, I saw you have your hand up.
I want to point out that so the county is looking into various options, right? I was asked to look specifically into changing that date. So they are looking at there are several opportunities to increase the number of residential lots, like things like settlement area expansions. They're looking into whether country residential subdivisions are allowed with the new PPS. So they're looking. So I was looking specifically at removing that date. The other component is the county would be taking these options and determining whether these options, putting those options in place would facilitate the appropriate amount of residential development. So I think the focus should be more on is this an option that we want to consider? But the county staff would be doing that analysis to see if that consideration would meet their broader objective of facilitating 600 new dwelling units in Plus Lynch.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to put in the date that the official plan's adopted. So where I might have to.
That's hers.
I like it. 5 years. I think that's the key piece for me in the sizing. I think that allows for growth, but in a manageable, like a good way of wording it. So yeah, I'm good with that one.
And there are other discussions to come around settlement boundary expansions, which will have some impacts to growth. So the consensus, even though Councilor Bailey's on it, date out, 5-year cool down period, worded way better than that.
Draft.
Okay, you want to read it, please?
That correspondence item 10.1 entitled Township Planning Consultant Comments regarding the County of Wellington Planning Committee Report regarding the official plan review 2024 rural residential growth analysis be received. And whereas the county has flexibility to amend the official plan to allow for rural residential growth in accordance with the current provincial planning policies. Therefore, that Plus Lynch Council requests that the county remove the rural residential severance date of March 1st, 2025. and control growth by allowing a property one severance every 5 years as its preferred option for accommodating lot creation in the secondary agricultural areas, with a review of this provision every 5 years. And the council directs staff to forward this council resolution and the NPG Planning Solutions official plan report to the County of Wellington Planning Committee for consideration in respect to the official plan review of rural residential growth.
You move it to that, please. Mr. Spillis, Councilor Goida, any last comments? Okay, all in favor? It's carried. I believe that's it for, thanks, Jesse.
Thank you. See you later this evening.
Night. Yeah. All right, guess we're on to council reports. I'll let you catch up. Here we go. All right, chicken scratch here. So, myself and Courtney, Executive Director of Tatmo, and Kenda Hart met with representatives from the Premier's office that deal with the MNRF files. Met with them yesterday, and I thought it was going to be a meet and greet. This, hey, we're Tatmo, well, this is where we came from, this is where we're going. And the individual dove into some questions and got into some details, which was nice. Generally, I want the introductory meeting first, then a follow-up to get into some of that stuff. But anyways, we just, articulated our concerns around enforcement around MNR and some of the policy changes. I brought up the MOF decision to subsidize the aggregate industry. And it went well, and I felt he agreed to quarterly meetings. He was a senior policy advisor to the Premier. Agreed to quarterly meetings with Tatmo, so that was good, but I also asked him, if we could connect with the people that are in charge of the taxation component from the Premier's senior policy advisors. And he indicated the names of those individuals, so that's probably a takeaway or follow-up we'll do. We had our Tatmo meeting. That was maybe a week and a half ago. We set the fee structure. Was Don's work plan on there?
Yes.
Don's work plan for the year was on there. Don submitted the delegation requests for Roma, NRF, MOF, MMAH. Basically, the ones for MOF, MNR, them. MMAH is around the ancillary uses and zoning concerns we have. One of the meetings with Minister Smith's senior policy advisor, he indicated that they thought it was appropriate for trucks to park at aggregate sites because if they're not producing their total aggregate, what's the difference? So that's something we need to address soon. I'm just worried we're gonna see some changes there. So I also attended the Reform Gravel Mining webinar last week sometime. It was an evening meeting. There was about 80 people in attendance. And Caledon had used, I believe, the Reform Gravel Mining Coalition, their lawyers, some of their consultants, to look at air quality regulations / bylaws, and they developed quite a extensive list of bylaws around air quality that they've now adopted in Caledon. And my understanding is it's going to the minister for approval, and it's all based on WHO standards and.
Climate change initiative.
Right, it's not just grassroots, I'm not taking away from grassroots, but it's based on fact and data and standards that are already adopted across good portions of the world. And so I articulated to the group there that Tatmo was not an anti-gravel organization. We're there to advocate for more oversight, regulation, maybe planning process improvements, those kinds of things. But I did invite RGM to present this bylaw or these bylaws and this work to Tatmo at the Roma conference. If it's adopted by the minister, then it's something our staff and other municipalities can take a look at for licenses going forward, something. Anything else out of that, or sorry. Lastly, Santa Claus Parade was on Sunday. So almost everybody there. It was rained briefly at the start of the parade. It was well attended. Quite a few donations to the food bank. Parade looked awesome. Thank the Optimist Club for providing the hot dogs and the hot chocolate, that's always a hit, and it went off very well. So I know there was some concern earlier about traffic and things of that nature, but obviously it got worked out somehow, so. Well, yeah, it was worrisome. I think that's it. I didn't miss anything else out of that Premier's office meeting that I should mention.
Through Mr. Chair, the only thing not the only thing, but one of the things I found interesting from the comments from the individual from the Premier's office was just the confirmation of the Premier's intent when he's passing regulations, that he's very pro-business, cut red tape. They're trying to create regulations that allow existing businesses and new businesses to thrive.
And I followed that up with, we're not at this point advocating for more regulation of the industry. We just want them to comply with the regulations that are in place now. That's not to say that we don't, and I said this part, we don't see areas that need improvement. But right now, our biggest thing is make them comply to what they're supposed to be complying to now, but it's very much so. They want to add business and add to the GDP, and that's why the Bradford bypass is a priority. That's why the Port Richmond is a priority, because those lands open up employment lands that add to the GDP of the economy. The Morrison bypass goes through a swamp, so it doesn't add to the GDP. So anyways, it was a good meeting. It was about half an hour, and look forward to more. I think that's all I have. You guys have anything?
Nothing since last week.
You how busy my week is? Maybe I can get some before, I don't know. All right, Ms. Whitefoss, we just received that for information.
Yes.
Okay, move for that, please. Councilor Goyda, Councilor Willis, all in favor? That's carried. Oh, no, it says none. Any announcements? What's first?
Just, the chief reminded me of the fire department food drive, December 7th, 10 to 2.
Stuffed fire truck?
Yeah.
December, sorry, when?
7th.
To, just December 7th. That, Saturday?
Yeah, Saturn.
Saturday, December 7th, stuffed fire truck. I'm sure we're pushing that out on their socials and all that good stuff. Okay.
Get youth out.
Anything else? Well, closed session, right? Any business arising from the closed session that we didn't have? Notice the motion. That's my old joke. I didn't say that in a while, eh? Got you though. You giggle a little. Any new business? No? Okay, next.
George, I love.
Didn't you have new business?
I did, but I was also told maybe that's not new business anymore.
No. Well, you brought it up, wasn't it?
So through you, Mr. Chair, the county has been doing the BRE surveys
Right.
with our community and the businesses, and it hasn't been as successful as we hoped. I think we were hoping to get around 15 businesses participating, and we have had about 5. So the county staff had recommended that a member of council maybe go out for this second round of engagement to see if that will make a difference and we can get some more surveys done. The goal is to collect all of that data, and then sometime in the winter here, we would have a business breakfast and we would invite everyone who's participated, some of our community groups, some of our key stakeholders, and we present that information back to the community. And so we're looking to target that 15. So we were hoping to have a member of council that wanted to volunteer. It could be 2 members as well. It doesn't have to be 1. We just don't want that quorum number met. But that's the ask of the county and township staff.
What are you asking for?
Well, there's no ask. Well, you were in the washroom, we voted you on.
What is
No.
what is the task at hand?
You would be, they go door to door. They do a lot of emailing and calling to try to arrange those meetings, but oftentimes business owners are extremely busy and they may not see those emails. So they found a lot of success with just door knocking, and if they're available, seeing if they can have those interactions at the time. And so it will be a few days out and about through the community doing that.
So I offered to go.
How long is the survey?
I don't believe it's overly long, but again, the last time we had staff go out, I think it was full, like half half days at a time.
Anyways, I told Courtney that I would do that. So,
And take another member as well if there's interest there.
all right, and territory bylaw.
Or just, are we just
Oh.
having one? I'm just
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
fill in council or the county active folks after our meeting. So there's a little bit of a urgency. They do want to complete it before the end of the year.
Yeah, just tell them, well, I mean. it's only
Mayor plus
4
one.
days, so. Yeah, I'll let you know the dates and when, or you let them, tell them to choose a date. And
Yes,
then
yeah.
I'll go and one
Let
of
us
you
know the
want to
dates
join.
and then if we're available, we can help out.
I like that approach. Like if I have time or depending on the dates, I'm happy to join.
I'm in for half a day. We usually get a half a day, like each time.
Okay.
I don't,
So it's daytime, maybe I can help. If it's evening, maybe someone else can.
I don't think it'll be evening. They're gonna try to target folks when they think the business owners will be most available.
these are usually pretty good for not having meetings. So anyways, I'll leave it with you. We'll figure it out. Okay. Alright, regulatory bylaw?
The following ballot be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council. Bylaw 2024-071, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for the corporation in the township of Clifton at its meeting held on the 27th day of November, 2024.
Move it please, Councilor Hurst, Councilor Bailey, all in favor? And adjournment?
Council hereby adjourns at 1:52 p.m.
It's supposed to, well, favor? Very good. Sit down.